need you to help me on this mission. Yeah. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of the prison. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. Sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. It's sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, or your logic breaks apart in 1,000 pieces. Oh, God killer, not gonna let that slide. You drowning in a myth, you had nowhere to hide. The HOK is the toughest environment. While we trade blind faith for mental empowerment. I believe in scriptures for your mind, this is the key. It's time to unlearn everything you believe. The house of consciousness, start looking within. That's where the real liberation begins. Oh, this is for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of that prison. This is for my brother trapped in religion. Sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. The HOK is more than just a place. It's a tough environment where you check your faith. Bomb squad and pseudo killers who check your sources. Don't come in front cause you will live for losses. The Bible written to break your spirit, built to keep you low, feeding you metaphors, stopping your growth. These is for my brothers trapped in religion. Sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. It's sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, while your logic breaks apart in 1,000 pieces. I need you to help me on this mission. Yeah. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of the prison. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. Sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. It's sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, or your logic breaks apart in 1,000 pieces. Oh, God killer, not gonna let that slide. You drowning in a myth, you had nowhere to hide. The HOK is the toughest environment. While we trade blind faith for mental empowerment. I believe in scriptures for your mind, this is the key. It's time to unlearn everything you believe. The house of consciousness, start looking within. That's where the real liberation begins. Oh, this is for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of that prison. This is for my brother trapped in religion. Sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. The HOK is more than just a place. It's a tough environment where you check your faith. Bomb squad and pseudo killers who check your sources. Don't come in front cause you will live for losses. The Bible written to break your spirit, built to keep you low, feeding you metaphors, stopping your growth. brothers, trapped in religion. Sign that to be the truth, you know he's on a mission. Sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, while your logic breaks apart in a thousand pieces.
Peace to the family. I'll be coming on real soon, waiting for Morpheus. How y'all doing tonight? While the real religious people are watching the game, I see that y'all are away from your TV sets or peeking at it. What this show is going to be about is we're going to do a intro because it's late night to the New Testament. So many of you are Bible thumpers, right? And many of you are not. But for the Bible thumpers, right, we're going to give you a chance to come on. And we don't want to talk about the Bible per se. We want to talk about the history of the Bible, right? And so that's what's not talked about. And so that needs an intro so that we can go and spec out the things that we want to do for a bigger show. So shout out to everybody that's there. Man, I see people. Stimuli God is out there. Shooters is talking about, can we get a segment on the AES? I know the channel centered around history, religion, but there are things happening today worth talking about. Yes, we want to talk about many topics, but the problem is we want an audience here, right? So we have to make sure that people are interested in the subject. So if we could get a show out for that, we will. We will. All righty. So waiting for Morpheus, but in the meantime, let's spec out some things. I'm going to let's just remove this banner and put myself on and start till Morpheus comes in. Okay. Let's see. There he goes. Great. And let's see where I am. Great. Okay. And I'm gonna put in real early. I'm gonna put in the share screen. And maybe a Bible thumper will come up and help us tweak out the history. So we have this book called the New Testament, and it's pretty popular, bestseller, right? And where's the link? Bestseller, and wow, almost everyone has had a Bible in their family. Yeah. And I think we're familiar with a lot of the passages. We're familiar with the Gospels. We're familiar with Paul. That's fine. All right, Bible thumpers. There's a link. The link is in the chat, right? But what we want to know is the history on how the Bible was put together, right? So come on, Bible thumpers. Okay. So once you start looking at the history of the Bible, then you find out that, yes, the Bible correlates to places, and but what is happening around that time period, right? That makes this the creation of the Bible possible. Okay. One of the things that we know is that the New Testament was finally added on to the Bible, the Torah, Tanakh, and then the New Testament was added on by Saint Jerome. And Saint Jerome, because up until that point, it was basically two religions. It was the Old Testament, and then it was the New Testament, where they spoke for the Old Testament. So Saint Jerome, he puts all the pieces together, and now it's a Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, right? Saint Jerome. But prior to that, it was pretty much a bunch of gospels and letters and teaching. And then, of course, with the putting it together. How and why that book was put together is because ultimately the Romans became Christians. And then they ordered the control of both books, and they put it together. And so we have the books put together, but Rome is putting the books together. But prior to that, the New Testament is not really a New Testament. It's a word taken from a verse in the Bible that calls it the New Testament. And then someone decides that that is going to be the name of this book. So all of a sudden, some of the things of the old book, right, has to be minimized, marginalized, and spoken against in a very, very slick way for this New Testament. So the New Testament is going to speak for the old, the Torah and the Tanakh. And when we have these Bible thumpers up here, they don't talk about that. They want to talk about the verses, right? But they don't want to talk about what was happening at the time of the time period. They only want to talk about what's in the Bible. Now, we got to be really stupid if we only look at what the Bible says and not look at what is happening in history. So I got my brother Morpheus in, and I asked a Bible thumper to come up in here. I'll put the link again. I know they see Morpheus and they see Brother Reggie. I know their stuff is not going to fly. Earlier today, Morpheus, you was having this kind of conversation about there is some part of brain that deals with God.
We was having a conversation about what's called the God spot in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation was about Brother Easy Band and Queen Nepal were saying, bringing up a study or some type of studies on what is known as the God spot in the brain, which is supposed to be to try to stillman their argument that there's a spot, a distinct spot in the brain that proves some type of I think their position is not that it explains in the brain there's a what they say it a part of the brain that is active that becomes active. Yeah, the activity of the brain when someone believes, in the supernatural or have a spiritual experience or whatever they call it, that a particular area of the brain is activated, and that's what they refer to as the God spot. Mm-hmm. If I'm correct, the God mm-hmm. spot.
Let me ask you a question. Is this scientifically proven, or is this just something that they're investigating?
Yeah, something they're investigating. So there's different research, and I pulled up a few articles. She read from an article. that says something, and there's other articles that say things in the that study, excuse me, in the contrary. So there is no conclusive end to it. It's an open study. You know what I mean? That's going. So you can't. If the study is open and there's no. My position is this: if something is an open study and there's not a conclusive answer left or right, then you can't take a position that this is fact or it actually exists if it's inconclusive. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, there's a lot of inconclusive things going on. So this spot, is this spot designated just for Yahweh or Jesus?
No. What the study is referring to is that activity in the brain, in a particular area of the brain, when someone believes something or have some particular, you know what I mean, experience, that they call it an experience, that there's an area of the brain that is activated, you know what I mean, by neuroscientists, right? As a matter of fact, to speak more on it, just a basic.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out, because I don't want to go into science. I want to go into what we're talking about.
Yeah. But let me show this one part, and then we could dead this part, and then move on. Let me just show this. Show my screen real quick, right? Can you see this?
Yeah.
All right. Do I need to make it bigger?
A little. I'm gonna take down this because I want the Bible Thumpers to come in and help us with the history of the New Testament.
Okay, so here's a quick AI overview, right? The concept of a single God spot in the brain responsible for spirituality is widely considered debunked by neuroscientists, which is, what I was presenting. Instead, studies indicate that spiritual experiences involve complex, widespread brain networks, often involving the frontal lobes, parietal cortex, and the parietal gray. It's a functional network, not a solitary anatomical spot. So that's the study up to date as far as the research and things what's going on. So,
that's fine.
But the God spot here basically is what we were talking about. The so-called.
Okay, and I'm gonna move on. Does the New Testament or the Old Testament talk about this spot?
No, of course not.
Oh, so if the New Testament and the Old Testament and God doesn't talk about the God spot, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. One could definitely say they can argue that for sure.
Yeah, if God is not talking about the God spot in your brain, at best they can do is the soul. But now it's the brain. I don't even think these people were ever talking about the brain. Is the New Testament, Old Testament talking about the brain?
No, not at all.
So it'd be interesting that Bible Thumpers is talking about anything in the brain because their God didn't talk about the brain, and they have no knowledge of the brain because they think that the brain is somewhere else, or who you are is pretty much your soul, right?
Right. So watch this. So, Reg, let's move the conversation like you said, right?
Yeah.
What we want to do, y'all, we want to, we always, I see people come on shows and they talk about verses, what the Bible says, what the Bible doesn't say, so forth and everything, right? So that's inside, and we're talking about the content of the Bible. What we want to do right now is say, hey, let's first get into how the Bible, particularly the New Testament, how it even came to be. Would that be fair to say? Let's understand that. How did it even come to be? Before we can get into the context, right, and about what it says, I want to get into the history of how these 20-something books came to be. That makes sense? Can we do that?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So
this way we understand, because we always want people to understand what it is that they're reading. right? Because you can't just, pick up a book and say, well, hey, and just jump into the book without understanding how the book came to be. Who are the writers? Who are the authors? What is the, the morphologies, and how did it even come to be?
Okay, so we know that the bulk of it is for the so-called New Testament. It's about the life of Jesus Christ, or the person that they call Jesus Christ. And we know that it's part of his biography about his ministry and his teachings, and that is in the Gospels. Then there is this other guy named Paul, and Paul talks largely about his revelation with Jesus and what he found out through that revelation. And Paul writes letters, and there's this chronology that you're going to explain to us, but we know that there's Paul's letters, and that seems to come first, and then there is the Gospels. Did I get that right?
Yes, yes. It's 27 books. The New Testament has 27 books. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do, like we saying, is let's talk about those 27 books. Right? Right. More wisdom. Peace to you. Okay, so the 27 books, because there's 27 books, which makes up the New Testament.
Well, the canonized version.
The canonized version, exactly.
Because there are many other books that just didn't make it.
Right, right. But most people in the world only really know about the canonized books. So let's deal with that. There are those who are on higher studies know about a lot of the other books like the Apocryphas and the Gnostic teachings and so forth. But predominantly, the Christian world knows about the 27 books.
Well, it's interesting because the King James Bible has many of the Apocrypha. And that's
the original King James did. Absolutely.
Right. And then the current version, they take out the Apocrypha. But during earlier times, at least the 1600s, they knew about more of the books, whether they were accepted or not.
Absolutely.
And then these people are English speakers, so they had the book. So okay, so we have these a number of books. What do you want to say about this, Morpheus?
Well, let's start. Let's start from the foundation, from the beginning, right? When dealing with the New Testament. Right, the earliest writings of the New Testament, would you agree, right, are the letters of Paul, correct?
Yes, it's interesting, but I have a question about that. Was the ancient world studying the letters of Paul first, or is that the? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do we have evidence that the ancient world, the ancient Christians, that they were studying Paul's writings rather than the Gospels? But go ahead.
Yeah. Because at the time of Paul's letters, his earliest letters are in the 50s, right? So the earliest that we have is within the time frame of the 50s. So if Jesus supposedly dies in the 30s. Some say 30, some say 30 AD. Paul's mission starts in the 50s. So that's about 20 years, give or take, right? After the death of Jesus, correct?
Yeah, it definitely is. I have some questions later about actually when do they have Paul's letters? And how they were compiled and gathered, because Paul's letters are not in one place. Paul's letters are letters to different groups of people. Am I wrong?
Right. So Paul's writing around 50, 51 AD. Some scholars argue a little earlier, like the date for Galatians, which is around 48 AD, right? So that's argumentative, but you're still within a 2 or 3 year time frame as far as the earliest letters. That's accepted, or I guess the consensus within scholarship, right?
Okay. So, Paul, but this is my problem. There's the people of Jerusalem, Galilee, Nazareth, the Palestinian, the Jesus followers. Paul is Paul writing to the Jesus followers?
Well, let's go. Well, watch this, Red. Let's go before that. Watch this. So, watch this. So let's look at Jesus and his followers, right? His followers. Yeah. Okay. So, predominantly, the population of Israelites or Hebrews or Jews in that time in Palestine, Jerusalem, was about 4 to 7 million, right? Right? That's the population, right?
Okay,
right.
So say that again. The population of Hebrews is about how much?
Between 4 million and 7 million. That's what the consensus in scholarship says, right?
Okay.
So now, these Hebrews are following the Torah and the Tanakh, right? So now,
the Torah, the Tanakh, and the Septuagint.
And the Septuagint, right? So now Jesus and his followers are heretics.
Wow. Yeah. Actually, to the Torah and the Tanakh, to the Pharisees, they're heretics. They're people outside of. Yeah, they are. They're heretics.
Right. Because his teachings, if we accept them as being his teachings, are going against, right? Are going against the Jewish and the Jewish religion of the Torah and Tanakh, so they would be considered heretics.
Oh, write that down, family. That during Jesus' times, Jesus and his followers are heretics.
Yeah, they're heretics. Yeah.
Oh, write that down, family.
Why were they heretics, Morpheus?
Huh?
Why were they heretics?
Okay, this is why. Here you go.
Was Jesus preaching a new doctrine, or?
Yeah. Well, we go. Watch this. Here we go. Let's look at this. Let's understand it so we all on the same page. All right, King J. First of all, how you doing, bro?
I'm well, family. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So let's look at this for basis, so we all can follow this step by step, right? All right. You see my screen?
Yeah. Right? And I need your Cash App, Morpheus. What is it?
Reef, the A7 God.
Okay, sorry. So I'm gonna put in Morpheus's Reef, the A7 God, and that is his Cash App, right? And you will see the picture of his son, right? So I'm gonna put this in. Okay. So the first thing that we establish is one, that Jesus is a heretic. His followers are heretic. They're outside of the Torah. And he's getting ready to explain to King J why that makes sense. Okay,
yeah. All right, so King J, walk with me, all right, bro? You with me? King J?
I'm with you, Chief. I'm following.
All right, so let's look at the definition. So and then we're going to see if they fit that. A heretic is a person who holds beliefs or teachings or opinions that oppose the established, accepted doctrines, most commonly within a religious context, right? So definitionary, right? If the established teachings of religion is the religion of the Hebrew Israelites and the Jews, right? And then Jesus is going against that, right? That would make them heretics, right? Because they don't, huh?
Well, I will argue that even with that, there is no established sect because there's different sects. You have Nazarene sects who believe something different, Essenian sects. You have Pharisees, Pharisees. You have different sects. Jesus said was called followers of the way.
But
Okay.
They were
who controls the Torah and the Tanakh?
the priests
And where are they?
in the temple.
And where's the temple?
It's two temples. So well, it's in Jerusalem. Jerusalem.
Correct, the Jerusalem temple, right?
Uh-huh.
And they control the teachers, they control the text, right? And they are the experts,
Uh-huh.
right? So, and they're in control of the religious feast, the calendar, and they negotiate with the Romans.
Uh-huh. But then we do have sets like the Essenians who go out from the city because they don't agree with that, and they teach what they
So they don't agree, but we're
exactly.
getting to who is the establishment. So what Morpheus is trying to show you, what we're trying to do is say that there is an establishment. That's why I interrupted.
Uh-huh.
Okay, go ahead, Morph.
Right. So King J, what I'm saying is like I said, based on the definition, right? And we're looking at the established, right, which is the Israelites. Even they got different opinions. They're still all Israelites following Torah and Tanakh, right? So whether they
Was the Nazarene sect a heretic sect?
that's a good question.
Well, they come later. They're
Right.
not at this
The
point.
Nazarenes. Okay.
They're not
Right.
at this point. At this particular point, the major place that has the Torah and the Tanakh, right? Or in fact, and dealing with Rome as if at the point that the Nazarenes are a problem, they are problems either to Rome or to Rome's vassals, which
Mhm.
is the Pharisees.
And
Okay.
then we got to talk about the Ebionites.
We didn't get there yet. Let's not
Okay,
get there
okay,
yet. No,
okay,
no,
okay.
you're on point. Just don't jump ahead of me. But you're right. We're going to get there. Right. That's what I'm trying to. You know what I mean? We're going to walk this step by step. You feel me? Right. But
I'm with you.
That's definitely a good point that you brought up. So let's look at this. Right. I'm sharing my screen. King J. So look. So if we look at in first century, right? So I'm looking at this area in the first century, right? First century Palestine, Jerusalem. So what was the number, right, of Jews or Hebrews in the area? Okay, scholarly estimates confirm that the Jewish conversion to the Jesus movement in the first century was very small relative to the Jewish population, which was about, like I said, 4 to 7 million across the Roman world. So if you have a population of 4 to 7 million, right? And then, so now we look at, okay, well, when Jesus and his movement, they're very, very small. So when we look at the numbers in perspective, conservative scholars studies argue that the total number of Jewish Christians or Jews, who converted to Christianity never exceeded 1,000 throughout the entire century, with the movement becoming overwhelmingly Gentile by 100 CE. So let's stop and unpack that for a minute, right? So if we got a population of 4 to 7 million, right, in less than 1,000 Jews, right, become Christians in the entire century, you're talking about a very, very small movement, almost 0.1, right? So it's very small, right? Are you with me? So even optimistic of Acts claims 3,000 at the Pentecost, 5,000 soon after the tens of thousands later are treated skeptically by historians as they imply 10 to 25% of Jerusalem's population converting, right? Improbable given the city's size, 30,000 and lack of archaeological corroboration. By contrast, the total Christians, mostly Gentiles, may have reached 7,000 the 10,000 empire worldwide by 100 CE. So when we look at this movement is predominantly Gentiles. King J, you with me?
Yep, I'm with you. I'm following you. I'm right here. Yep.
Right. So the movement is predominantly Gentiles with a very small number of Jews or Hebrews who actually become Christians. It's a very small movement, right? So that movement are what we refer to as a cult. They're a cult. They're a cult. They're very small, a heretic cult, right? And that's how they're seen by the masses of Hebrews. They see the Jesus movement as a cult, as a small cult.
Okay, let me stop here just to deal with this. So here's the apologist coming in. We're talking about the New Testament, and you're talking about that we are getting this from white people, but you are a convert to the King James book, or right to the English version of the Torah and the Tanakh. What we're trying to do is talk about the movement of the New Testament. Now, if you're a Hebrew and not a New Testament person, this is not for you. But if you are a Messianic, then you should pay attention, because the population of Jesus followers, right, are very small, right? And these are Jewish followers of Hebrews, but they are heretics, right? They're outside. Now, there are other groups. I just wanted to add, there are other groups that of Hebrews. There is the Herodians, right? The Herodians are there too, right? They are a fraction, and they reigned about 37 to 4 BC. So this is prior, right? There's also the Samaritans, right? So that particular group is also an early group, but there are other groups. But in Jerusalem, right, we are talking about the Pharisees, and they're dealing with Rome, and anybody outside of that or outsiders, heretics. So then when we do have Jesus, as Morpheus is talking about, we have a very small group. So let's go a little bit earlier, Morpheus. Let's start with Jesus and his followers, right? So Jesus, he at age what begins his ministry? What age?
I believe it's 12.
No. He doesn't begin his ministry at 12. His ministry starts at 30.
At
Oh,
30.
when he comes back. When he comes back, okay.
Well, that's when he starts teaching. Otherwise, it's just actions.
Okay.
Yeah. But at that point, we're in the Gospels now. We're in 50, 60, 70 years later. That's why I'm trying to go earlier and then walk us, you know what I mean? Walk us down the road before we get to Gospels. Because at this period, there is no Gospels.
Correct.
There's no Gospels at all. Right?
Right. And the Gospels have to do with Jesus's teachings and relating it to his life, to his resurrection. That's what the Gospels do.
Right. But at this point, we're not dealing with Gospels yet, because Gospels don't exist. Right. So now I'm just first saying, hey, let's look at the movement, right? And look at how, let's get a perspective. Is this a big movement? Is it a small movement? Is it, what I mean?
But at this time, Morpheus, I would argue that these Jewish sects have nothing to do with what will later become the Christian movement. I think Marcion plays a crucial role.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not there. We're right now at the point.
You're right. You're right, but we ain't there yet. That's what I'm saying.
We ain't there yet. We have to deal with the fact.
I keep jumping ahead. My bad. I'm true.
Jesus starts his ministry, and then he recruits how many people, Morpheus?
I'm still not even there yet. I'm still at Paul. I'm looking at the earliest that we have is Paul's letters. Right?
Oh, you're looking at the New Testament That
Right.
okay. So
Right.
we're not even. So with Paul's letters, what you're saying is that Paul's letters in the sense of the New Testament come before
The Gospels.
Jesus story.
Right, exactly. This is the earliest.
Oh,
Right, that's what I'm saying. So we start and we from A, B, C, D, E, F, like King J. It's like you're at M. I'm like, hold on, we ain't get to M yet. I'm at A and B. You feel me?
oh,
So I'm saying,
okay, got
right,
it.
so get
So write that down, family. The Paul's letters, right, come before the Gospels. So what we do know is that where he is in this particular segment is looking at what Paul says, right? So go ahead.
Right. So, all right. So I'm looking at the earliest Christian writings, right? Are Paul's letters. That's the earliest. All of his letters. Okay. So that's why I'm starting there because
But they don't get compiled until Marcion does that. That's why I say we got to talk about. If you're talking about Paul, you got to talk about Marcion because Marcion introduces 10. I don't even think 10 letters at that time, but somehow we have like 13 or 14 letters of Paul.
Right,
But
but
those 10,
Marcion stuff is not in the New Testament. What's
we're
in the
not
New
there yet.
Testament, right? What's in the New Testament is Paul, right? Paul.
Yeah, but we
When we
don't
talk
get
about
that
the
until we get
construction,
Marcion compiling that. So, like the first canon we get is Marcion's, and that is specifically the letters of Paul. We get
and
Luke
right.
later.
So you're making the point. The point is that we get Paul first.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. So we
but we
agree.
don't get Paul until we get Marcion.
But
Without
Marcion
Marcion,
is not in the
we
New
don't get the
Testament.
canon.
Marcion is not in the New Testament.
but we ain't.
No, he's not in the New Testament. But so my argument, my contention is this: that before Marcion canonizes it, all we have are a bunch of different letters floating around by different sects. There is no canon that we can go by and say this is what we believe in. Authoritative canon until Marcion compiles them. Until then, everything is just loosely circulated. People are believing whatever they want to believe. Different sects, right?
Okay. So you're saying hold on, my phone. I want to understand. All right. So Marcion, right? When did Marcion live?
I think Marcion actually came from like Tiberian, like Galilee area. He comes down and brings a bag of money. Later on, they reject him, kick him out, and give him his money back. So those texts, those Paul texts, were considered heretic texts at that time.
That's correct. Right.
For sure.
So he's credited, right? Is credited with publishing the first collection of Paul letters.
Yes.
That's what you're saying,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. I agree. I have no pushback with that. Yeah. So where was I? Okay, so we're done with Paul letters, but Marcion. The reason why I'm talking about Paul, right? Because people are familiar with Paul's letters and they're not familiar with Marcion because he's not part of the canon. You feel me? But historically, King J, I agree with you 100%, right? So where was he at? Oh, okay. So I'm saying, so out of those letters of Paul, it was like 13 letters, right? Now, 7 of them, right, are only authenticated. That's a fact, right? So you learn this in academia that all of those letters of Paul are not authentic. There's only like 7 that's accepted as actually being something that he actually wrote, which means that in your New Testament right now, you have letters, letters of Paul that ain't authentic. Would you agree?
I agree. Yeah, they were added, like you say, there were only like 7 that were, substantiated. The other ones that were added on later, as time went on.
Right. And so basically they're fake. They're fake. Paul didn't write them. They're not Paul letter. You know what I mean? He didn't write them. Right. So in your Bible right now, you have to accept, right? And you can look this up through any academic source that's going to tell you that there are at least, what, I think 6 letters of that 13 that are fake. You know how damaging that is right now? Reg?
I'm only being quiet because they want the show to come on and for you to get your point out. So yes.
So we just try to understand what we're reading, the books, that's inside the canon. So I'm just trying to break that down so we understand about these letters. He brought up
100.
Yeah. So again, Reg.
No, I agree 100% because we're talking about what's in the New Testament. We're not talking about the outsiders, and what's important in the New Testament is Paul and the Gospels, but Paul seems to come out first. And now I'm listening. Go ahead.
King J, you got any pushback about that?
No, I'm here. I'm listening, building with y'all. No pushback.
Okay. So then, and those letters that are the epistles are called pseudepigrapha. Does anybody know what do y'all know what pseudepigraphy is? Because we're going to be using words, and I want y'all to know what we mean when we say like pseudepigrapha.
Yeah, I do, but refresh my memory.
Well, pseudepigrapha is when you write, or you write. Say I write something in your name, King J, and I say King J wrote this. You know what I mean? Because nobody know who I am, but your name is popular, so I'm gonna write, and then I'm gonna say, "Yo, King J wrote King J," and I sign it with your name. That's pseudepigraphy. But notice you see the word pseudo in there, right? Right. That's right. So a lot of those letters of Paul epistles are pseudepigrapha, which means they're written by other people, and they put his name on it, but it's not actually anything that Paul wrote.
I agree.
Right. So okay. So then
some people may actually argue that Marcion himself wrote Paul.
I've heard that argument as well. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's like, okay, I don't know if it got legs, but it's interesting. And but I've heard some of those arguments, but absolutely. But I heard that. And that's an argument in academia. We ain't making this up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because and just a little bit, background on Marcion. Like, to me, when I read Paul, I get a Gnostic theology behind it. In its core, you know what I'm saying? That vision, that personal divine revelation, those are tenets of Gnostic, you know what I'm saying? Gnosticism beliefs that were later probably edited and taken out of Paul.
Okay,
that's fine. My point of it is, my point is it's showing is what you have up there: origin versus rapid shift. What I'm trying to get out of this is that we are looking at how the how the New Testament is constructed. So we got that Jesus is a heretic, right? And that's important because he's outside of the Torah. And then we have this character, Paul, as a very important part of the New Testament. This part, right?
Right. He's a missionary.
Yeah, Paul is yes. So you're going to explain that. So nothing at this time period that we're talking about. We know that there are Jesus followers, right? But do we? What we do know is what Paul says in history, right? Everything else is kind of sketchy. Even to say that there are really, we know that they're Messianic Jews, but we don't know really yet that they are Jesus followers. We are told. Am I wrong, Marcus?
Right.
We're told that these are followers of Jesus, and Paul establishes Paul's narrative, or the person attributed the pseudepigrapha of Paul establishes that there is a church being formed, and he names Jesus's brother and I think Peter, right? Yeah. So he names. So we're only looking at we only later find out that there are Jesus followers, but we know that there are messianic Hebrews that are looking for some type of relief, right? And I'm just, if I'm wrong, correct me. But we're being told all of this through the Bible, but in history, in this time period in Jerusalem and Palestine, what we're trying to do is figure this all out. At the same time, we're looking at how this New Testament is constructed. But go ahead, continue.
Okay, so when we look at Paul's travels, right, in his letters, right, who's the audience, right? When he writes letters like Corinthians, Galatians, Titan, who is the audience that his letters are being directed to, right? Because
Paul is writing to the Gentiles.
Right, the Gentile. He's not writing and teaching in Palestine. He's not teaching to Hebrews and the Jews, and it's like he's not teaching amongst them, right? Why is he not doing that?
Because he's rejected.
Right.
Yeah, because James ain't messing with him. James, you know what I'm saying?
We're told that. We don't know yet. We are told that James is not messing with him, right? Through the Bible. But what we do know is from his own letters, the people, the Hebrews, are not messing with him.
Right. So his letters is directed to a particular group or audience. That's what I'm trying to get. Who is the audience, right? The audience, Rome, the Romans, right? Because the Romans, right? He traveled to the major Roman city of Corinth. That's where we get the letter of Corinthians. So Corinth is a port city in Rome, right? Right. So Paul visited the Corinth during his second missionary journey, like leaving Athens in around 51 AD. So he's going to Rome. He's going to the port city of Corinth. His letters are directed to these people. These people are Gentiles, correct? They're not like Hebrews, right? They're Gentiles. That's who's in Corinth. So his letters are being directed to the audience, the people of Corinth, right? You have the church in Corinth, what composed of a different, chaotic group of converts. So you got small little Jews or Hebrews, that's there, but the majority of the people, the population, are Gentiles. So Paul is focusing his letters and everything on the Gentiles.
Right, Galatia, right?
Galatia, exactly.
Roman, Thessalonica, right? That's in northern Greece. Corinth, you mentioned, he's speaking in Rome. He's speaking in Philippi, which is another Roman colony in Macedonia. He's then there is Colossae, which is in valleys in Asia Minor, and then Ephesus, which is in West Asia Minor, and then there's smaller places that he went. But interesting, as you say, as I think about it, right? He's not talking to the Hebrews in Jerusalem and Palestine.
Nope.
He's not talking to the Messianic Jews. He's talking to Gentiles. Right?
You know why I think that's the case, guys? Because I will argue he's teaching a different doctrine. He's teaching a more friendly doctrine for those who don't want to be circumcised.
There you go. You got it. Exactly. So when we look at what's happening, right, we going, hold up. Why is he going over there and teaching Gentiles and people who don't know about the Torah and the laws and all that stuff, right? So what he's doing, Paul is literally modernizing, right? And the laws, because this is where we get this stuff out. We don't have to follow the laws, or the laws have to be law. Yeah, because he's talking to a group of people, a population of Gentiles, right? And he's saying, y'all don't got to be circumcised, right? Y'all don't have to follow this. Y'all don't have to do this. Y'all don't have to do that. All right. So the audience that Paul seems to be talking to is predominantly Gentiles. Would you agree?
And not Hebrews.
Right.
And not Hebrews, not Jesus followers, not the people, not any of those indigenous people to that area. He's a missionary going outside teaching about his version of his based on his revelation. But
right.
he's not talking to his own people, or so-called his in Jerusalem. So can I continue?
No, you're absolutely right. He's not. He got a whole different doctrine. He got a whole complete different doctrine. You feel me? That's very important. That we magnify that he has a whole complete different doctrine, and his doctrine in the audience is not God's chosen people. You feel me? The Hebrews, right? It's not them. It's not them at all. Right? It's these other people, these Gentiles. So I argue that, as I said for years, that Christianity is the religion of Gentiles. You understand what I'm saying, King J?
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. Definitely, I always argue that Paul's doctrine. I would always argue that Paul is the apostle to the Gentiles, and James is the apostle to the Jews.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. So anyway, with that being said, Reg, now, before we go further than that, so after he goes to Corinth, Galatia, Thessalonica, and all this stuff, right, Reg? How now does this stuff get written, and where does it get written?
Oh, interesting. Well, there's a lot of things that happen. You know, the Hebrews are going to, the Romans are going to fight the Hebrews, right? But you do have, you do have these letters that appear, but they seem to be written either in Rome, right? Because he's supposed to be writing from house arrest, right? But we don't have any of the originals of that. But what the copies seem to be surfaced, I think in Egypt,
In
right?
Alexandria?
Right. Yes, the copies seem to be writing there, because you got to remember, you need papyri, right? Or you're writing on ostracum, right? So the real writing seems to happen in Alexandria, but this is happening much later than the time. But then the ones that you have from the Romans, when he's writing on his way in these particular places, somehow in this story that these letters are somehow preserved. Like there's lots of writings, tax records, there's lots of like communication going on. But somehow someone knows that Paul is important, and somehow Paul's letters, or the contents of Paul's letters, are somehow preserved, because all of a sudden, he's a missionary. He's he's trying to build churches, right? So, but there's Syria, there's other places that he went to, because of course he goes to Antioch, right?
Right.
He goes to Antioch, but Paul is not talking about anybody that he is with. That's very interesting. And then this guy named Luke is supposed to be his physician and traveling companion, but there's nothing that he's saying, hey, Luke, take this here, do this. Paul is being written in like the second or third person. So
okay, hold up. So wait. So after these letters, right, Reg?
Right.
After these letters, which is around in the 50s, right, 50s to 60s, right? So the first gospel that we get is Mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mark is, so this is gospels now, not letters we talking. So now we're talking gospels.
Nah, nah. I think Mark comes after. It seems like Mark got his stuff from Paul and Luke. It just seems like I wouldn't argue that Mark came before the Paul.
No.
Well, Paul is not a
That's
Paul
not
is
what I'm
not
saying.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
Paul is
okay.
not the gospel. Paul's letters. We're
Right.
talking
I
about
said
the gospels.
King J. What I said was after the letters. Now we're going to get into the gospels because, like I said, the letters are around in the 50s and 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I said, so when do we get the first gospel? Right? Is Mark, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So then when does Mark, the first gospel Mark, is written around 70 AD, 65, 70, some say 70 to 75. That's the first gospel we get now. Right?
I'm giving them early dates.
Right. So watch this now. So that's about maybe 15 years, 20 years after Paul's letters and so forth, right? The first gospel is Mark, right? 20, 25 years, somewhere around 70, 75. That's the general accepted date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Who is Mark? This is the first gospel. Was Mark a disciple?
Supposedly.
No, he wasn't.
I don't think none of them. I don't think none of them actually were the authors of the Mark, Luke. None of them. I don't think they actually walked. I think, like you say, they were pseudepigrapha. I don't believe none of that.
Right. But watch this though. But let's just go. No, just walk with me. So according to Christian theology in their history, right, they say Mark is first. But so I'm asking, let's identify who is this guy Mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was Mark a disciple? No. Did he know Jesus? No.
No.
Met him? No.
No.
So, but yet this is the first gospel. So the first gospel you get is from someone who never knew Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw the so-called Jesus, never met him at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, what is the logical question that we ask? Well, where's he getting his information from?
Mm-hmm.
It's a logical question, right? It's like, well,
mm-hmm.
where's he getting his info from about Jesus? He never knew him, right? At all, right? So now, what's known as you ever heard what they refer to as the Q source?
No, I haven't.
This is supposed to be the source that Mark is getting the information from. It's called the Q source, right? It's a hypothetical thing that he got it from the Q source, which is what they say
of writers, a community of writers.
Mm-hmm.
That do the pseudo
mm-hmm.
and there are different groups of these so-called hypothetical writers.
Mm-hmm.
But what you said was important. You said that he seems to be getting it from, then you say from Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Luke is supposed to be doing two things. He's a traveling companion of Paul, but he's also supposed to be collecting witnesses or collecting writings of witnesses, right?
Right.
But the problem is with this is that Paul is not really talking at all about Luke. Luke is talking about Paul, but Luke is supposed to be Paul's traveling companion, but Paul is not mentioning Luke in none of his letters or nothing like that, right? So isn't that strange to you?
Well, all of it is strange because Mark, this guy Mark, who's the first gospel writer, right? Yes. He's getting his information. He becomes a follower of Peter, right? He's a follower of Peter, right? But so he's not a primary, right?
Right. Then none of these are primaries. They're only what, 2 or 3 of these gospels that actually come from the disciples. Right?
No.
None of these are primary because they're so far past along. They're not contemporary with Jesus at all.
Right. So look, so we're looking at the first guy, Mark,
Yeah, Mark.
right?
Mhm.
That's what I want to unpack the first gospel, which is Mark, right? So Mark,
Morpheus, just real quick, because and it just popped in my head. It may not be having anything to do with anything. Um, Mark, the correlation between Mark and Marcion. That is why some speculate that Mark may actually be Marcion. I've heard that.
That may be, but what's happening is, okay, we're doing two things. There are the Bible writers. We didn't get to that, right? These are the all the Bible writers. We're looking at the narrative of the people in the New Testament, the content.
Oh, okay.
We're looking at the content of what they are going to assemble. So we're looking at the collection. I think that's the best way I can say it.
yeah,
So
Right?
right.
look. So let's start right here. When Marcion comes, right, all they have are the Torah and Paul's letters. That's all he has to deal with is Paul's letters and the Torah. There are no other Luke, Mark at this time. So when Marcion comes at this point, I think the church in Ephesians has a few letters, the church in Rome has a few of Paul letters. Marcion is the first person that comes along and gathers all of those Pauline letters, Galatians, Corinthians, Romans 1 and 2, Theologians, um, Colossians, Philippians, those, and he puts them in a canon, right? That canon gets spread through Rome, right? He's a rich man, he spreads it through Rome. Once he gets kicked out and considered a heresy, it's too late now. The doctrine's already spread. So
Well, so we're doing two things, and so this
okay,
is the intro. What we're doing is we're looking at what are they collecting, right? We're not looking at really who's collecting. We're looking at supposedly what is being collected.
all they had was Paul. All they had was the letters of Paul. That's what's being
Okay,
collected.
that's why I was smiling,
Mm-hmm.
because that's I think that aligns with what Morpheus is saying.
So what I'm doing right now, I'm looking at, I'm saying, okay, let's look at what we have. Let's look at what we have. What's in the canon? And we say what's in the canon is Mark, the first gospel. That's around 70, 75 AD. The next one we got is Matthew. That's around 85. Then we get Luke, which is written around 90, right? John, which is written between 90 and 100, right? So these four gospels, which predominantly makes up Christendom of the story of Jesus in his life and so forth, because Paul's letters don't address Jesus' life, or anything in Paul's letters has nothing at all to do with Jesus' life, right? All his letters are dealing with the spiritual, the spiritual part of Jesus, right? You know what I mean?
That Gnostic side.
Gnostic side, right? It doesn't address none of his life, when he was born, where he was born, virgin births, and all the stuff that we've come to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're coming from the Gospels, right? So that's why I'm starting with the Gospels from this point and said, okay, well, if Mark is the first guy, right? Where's Mark getting his information from, right? Where's he getting his information from, right? Right? If he's not a primary, that means he's getting it from hearsay, stories that he heard. I heard it from so-and-so, Peter told me this, or so-and-so. But Mark is not a primary.
Not at all.
Right? Cool. So then now when we go 20 years later, about 10, 15 years later, we get Matthew. Then we say, okay, well, all right, y'all. Then Matthew says, or the people say, well, Matthew was a disciple. However, Matthew is not the author of Matthew. And we know that Matthew's information is literally copying from Mark. So the author of Matthew, his source is Mark, the guy that never knew Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Luke.
Yeah, none of them never knew.
Exactly. So when we look at what we're reading to understand what we're reading, I'm going into, okay, how reliable. Well, that's another part of the conversation. I don't want to go there yet. But anyway, so when we dealing with, so we understand the Gospels now, okay? As far as the dates, they're written later. They're written 50, 60, 70 years later after Jesus, right? We got to keep that in mind. This was written 50, 60 years after the so-called Jesus death. And they're written by secondary, thirdary sources or sources. We don't even know who they are for the most part. We don't even know who they are. Am I right? Right or wrong?
You're right. You're right. 100%.
Now, Reg, to put it in your backyard now, where is this stuff getting written at? That's the question, right? Because we got the dates, but now where is this stuff getting written, Reg?
I think ultimately the copies of the copies of the copies are being written in Alexandria, but they it's not clear to me prior to that who collected it and if they existed. It's not clear to me. It's not clear to me that they existed when they existed. We know when they start to come out, but these are different churches in different places with different languages, right? Different Gentile languages in Greek, right? So we should have a Greek text of Paul, right? We should have a Latin text.
Well, all the letters are written in Greek, but
right. But what I'm saying is that we should have a Latin. We should have a Latin original. Then, when he's in Turkey, we should have a Turkey version, right? A version in Syria, right? We should have with different dialects, right? I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that what comes out is a particular version that seems to me has to be a copy.
But how important is Alexandria to this whole thing? How important is Alexandria, Reg?
Okay, well, Alexandria, sorry. I meant to take myself off the screen and mute the mic.
Like, what's happening in Alexandria, right? And why is that important to Christianity or the?
Okay, well, that's why there's a lot of stuff that we can. Okay, first of all, you have besides Paul moving around, you have the Roman and Hebrew wars. You have Hebrews, right, leaving Jerusalem, right? Prior to that, you had a lot of original Hebrews who found themselves in Alexandria because of Ptolemy Philadelphus. That's how we get to the Septuagint, right? So you have this huge population of you have networks of Hebrews, but you have this huge population of Hebrews that are in Alexandria, in Egypt, right? And that's the writing center of the world where you have ostraga and you have things written on paper, and you have the talent to do it because you had the talent from the time of the Septuagint, right? So Alexandria is extremely important to this story, as these things will be actually written in how can I say, in the best forms in Alexandria, right?
So you have monasteries there
in Alexandria. Okay, monasteries go to Christianity, right? The Hebrews have small house temples, right? Throughout Alexandria, right? So,
Reggie, would the word not have been Serapeum or a museum?
No,
No.
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be Serapeum or museum. Actually, there were synagogues.
Okay.
Hebrews have synagogues, and these synagogues are problematic because they are now being forced to leave Hebrew writing and go into Greek, because the whole thing of the Septuagint was that there was this large population of Hebrews, right, who didn't know Hebrew, didn't know the Hebrew religion anymore. And so now that they are now reading the Septuagint in Alexandria. Do you understand that?
Yeah, we're in the Hellenized period right now.
Yeah, right. We're in the area before Christ. So in Alexandria, there are Hebrews that are being unhebrewised, meaning they're being separated from their language, and part of that came from their long stay in Babylon. But when they get into Alexandria, there's not a lot of the speaking is Greek, and so there the Septuagint is provided for them, right? And so prior to all of this, there's a writing center in Alexandria where Hebrews are, and they are speaking Greek. And if you want to know more, you can. I don't know if I got your point, but
so my point is, so how do the Christians end up in Alexandria? Okay, because
okay, I'll tell you that. Okay, so basically, okay, you have the Roman wars with the Hebrews, right? And
around
then
around 70 AD and all that.
Yes, you have all those. I forgot the names of them right now. I can look them up. The different wars, but now you have Hebrews who want to save their life, dissociating themselves, right, from Hebrews to save their life, and then you have messianic Jews separating from the Hebrews, right? And so with
are you saying, Reg? So are you saying that, like, so when the Romans ran up on them, they disassociated themselves from the Hebrews? I ain't down with them.
Not me.
We ain't messing with them. No. We not down with them. Is that what they did?
Yeah. And we see the reverse of that. We see the reverse of that with Paul supposedly being something, and then he himself is how can he's Saul, right? And then he becomes transformed for his purposes. And Paul says what's the verse? Paul says he's everything to everybody, right? What's this verse that Paul says that he's all things to men? Morpheus? Well, there's a verse. I don't know where Morpheus went, but there's a verse in the Bible about Paul's character. Now we think it's just Paul, but Paul becomes all things to all men. In this situation where Hebrews trying to save their lives, Hebrews are leaving Jerusalem, and that they are relying on Hebrew networks. The Messianic Hebrews are also leaving Jerusalem because they're being targeted,
right?
Because they're followers of Christ, right?
Right. I'll be right back. Okay, keep going.
They find themselves in some of them go supposedly to North Africa, and others go into Jerusalem, right? So because there is this large population of benefactor Hebrews, meaning Hebrews that established themselves in Alexandria, that are patrons. They have money. Their salvation. So both groups of people try to leave Jerusalem as Hebrews, as the Romans target people. And so the Messianic groups, they use the Jewish networks, and they find themselves in Alexandria, right? Along with the Hebrews that have been there since the time of Philadelphus, right? How important is Alexandria? Alexandria is a writing center. Now, the Jesus story that occurred is primarily oral tradition. We don't have anything written about Jesus directly, directly in Hebrew or how can I say in it slipped my mind in the other language that he was supposed to speak, King James.
Aramaic.
So we don't have that. We have very little, if anything, or nothing of people who are speaking Aramaic talking directly to Jesus. Talking about that, if I'm wrong, somebody put it in the chat. But
No, you're right.
we were supposed to have something in Aramaic because he's an Aramaic speaker, and that's a writing system. It's a big writing system, but we have nothing of Jesus in Aramaic, right? That anybody talks about.
So
So
Reggie, just to the point, I think that Morpheus may have been alluding to. You alluded to Alexandria being a writing center. Would this be the place where the Greeks would take all of the indigenous knowledge, the scrolls from systems, and transfer them into Greek?
Yeah, it would be. It would definitely be one of the places because they have something that other people don't have. They
Hmm.
have papyrus. They have paper.
Yep. So they transfer it all into their language, and then get rid of all the indigenous scrolls themselves.
Well, purposely or not purposely, but interesting that
Hmm.
in Jerusalem, right, in this area of Jerusalem, I had a map, right, in all the places that Jesus went. I think I could share my screen. We don't have anything. So
so
we
so in Egypt, in Alexandria, right? Um, I'm interested. Well, get you finish first. Get.
yeah we so what's happening in this place is Jesus' story, and they are Aramaic speakers, and we don't have anything specifically talking about Jesus, right? We will find uh, in Alexandria, we will find somehow the collection of Paul's letters, right? And we will find the Gospels written, but nothing in here. Even the other groups like the Essenes and uh, the other groups of people that we do find writing from, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, we don't see anything specifically about Jesus, right? About Jesus' followers, nothing, right? What we do find later is comments from Josephus that this man existed, and that we do find that there are from the Roman, we will find that there is some movement, but we have nothing in this area of uh, direct uh, sources. So what we find how important is Alexandria is that that's where uh, writings are manufactured, right?
So why? So what? So the monasteries. That's what I'm trying to. So in Alexandria, you have monasteries now, correct?
Yeah, we will have them. This is the funny thing is we will have the monastery movement in 300. So that's really, really late,
Okay.
right? That's really, really late. Where we are right now, uh, where we are right now is that because of these wars, people are trying to save their lives, and
Oh, this is second century, first century. What are we talking?
this is where the Romans war started. So this is what in the 70s, 80s.
Yes. So you got 70 A.D. Right. So
Yeah,
in at that period, you're saying so. Okay. So
58, probably.
right. So what the problem is what I'm having a problem with is scholars say that Paul's writings surfaced, the Gospels surfaced in those early periods. But what King Jay was talking about earlier is that what we find out in later times, like Marcion time, they only have small, the story has not been written yet. They only have that Mark is a missionary, right? They don't have the stuff that scholars are actually saying.
What do you
Then
mean?
you have
Paul missionary, you mean, right?
Paul. But what you do have in the later periods in the monastery movement, now you have whole documents written. Prior to that, you don't have whole documents. If anybody searches, you'll find out the early church fathers, they only call Paul a missionary. Paul's story is not completely written yet. Well, unless somebody shows me that, right?
So here's my question, right? I used to always ask or look for, if Paul was so important, right? Because he was the first guy that set up the foundation with the, you know what I mean, the early church.
The church.
Yet none of the gospel writers ever mentioned Paul.
And Paul is not mentioning Luke.
Right. They're not dead. Hey, King J, you don't think that's weird?
That's why I always say that Paul is the origin from all of them. He's the
So
origin.
yeah, but nobody talks about him. Nobody mentions him at all. If Paul is the origin, he's the foundation, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who comes later, who's writing gospels, never even acknowledge Paul.
Mm.
They don't even acknowledge him.
And
But yeah,
they wouldn't in Jerusalem and stuff because he's
Of
not
course not.
talking to them.
Of
He's
course
everywhere
not.
else.
Mm-hmm.
He's everywhere else but in Jerusalem.
Wow.
So nobody's talking about Paul. But Paul does appear. Paul does appear later with the church fathers, but no one's talking about. We have no primaries on Paul in this area. Paul's letters. He's not writing to them. He's writing to the outsiders, and we have very little of people actually talking about surviving documents of Jesus in Jerusalem. It seems that what we know is comes to what you call the Coptic period of the Coptic period of
and that's the monasteries and stuff that I'm talking about.
well, the Coptic period is before the monasteries, right? It's slightly before the it's before the monasteries, right? The Coptic problem is that the Coptic is trying to deal with the Hebrews because it's a multicultural society in Alexandria. You have the Greek gods, the Latin gods, the Roman gods. You have the what's left of Egypt, the Serapis gods, right? And then you have Christianity taking a foot, right? And all of these little sects or cults are competing against each other, and a lot of them have shared stories. So, and because it's a writing system, and it's writing and it's drama and all of this stuff like that, and plays and all of that stuff, it's a very vibrant kind of center, right? So the monastery movement, that we can get to that a little later, because that's important, because from that movement, you have writers, you have a scribal school, and then you have now complete documents. Prior to this, everything is oral, Morpheus, King James.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to figure out is where are these gospels being written at? Are they being written at Alexandria?
I don't think they're being at this time period. They're still oral. You say about 50 AD.
No, I'm talking about the actual writing. The actual writing. You know, not the oral.
They're being written in a monastery. They're being written in a monastery because the monastery movement is where people give up. They separate from their lives, their family lives, their mother, their father, their sister, their brother. They hate them, in quotes, air quotes, and they separate for a kind of a priestly life of service. and then they began to part of that service is beginning to write, and so they dedicate their whole lives in actually writing stories, rewriting them, writing copies and copies and copies, and then circulating them. They're like the Jehovah's Witnesses of that day.
So
right?
they saying from what I'm reading, right, that the Gospels are predominantly being written in Antioch, Rome, Greece. The big example, Matthew is supposed to be written in Antioch. Mark is written in Rome. Luke was written in Greece, Antioch, and John was written in Ephesus. But these are all outside of Judea, like you were saying.
Yeah, it sounds like the books are for them by them. It's Gentile books.
Right. So when you look at because it was written in Greek, but not just Greek, but Koine Greek. That's important that it's Koine Greek, because Koine Greek is very sophisticated, right? So if it's written in Koine Greek, who is the audience?
The elite.
Greeks, right?
Elite,
the elite.
Not regular Greeks, elite Greeks, because the local Greeks in Alexandria have a Egyptian African dialect. They're not writing. We know in the Septuagint they try to put in some of the local stuff in it, but it's Koine Greek. It's for the elites.
It's for the elite, yeah. So it's not for the Hebrews. But not only that, in the first century, Palestine, less than 2 to 3% could even read or write. The literacy level was crazy low. They couldn't even read or write, right?
So you suggesting they created these motifs for Jesus, like these Dionysus, these wine motifs we see previously? I think did Dionysus or Romulus turn water into wine first? There's a resurrection.
We have a convergence of writers that know about a lot of different writing, right? At that time period, they're the best writings, and then it's being circulated even back into Jerusalem. So even when you get the what is it? The Dead Sea Scrolls, they're written in what languages?
The Dead Sea Scrolls is in like Aramaic.
Well, some are in Aramaic, some are in Greek.
Right.
Some are in Greek. It just depends on what cave.
Right. It's just not Aramaic. Some of it is Hebrew, some of it is Aramaic, some of it is Greek, and some of it talks about, like the Book of Giants, from other places in the Near East.
Well, it says here, the Dead Sea Scrolls are primarily written in Hebrew. Approximately 80% is Hebrew, with a significant portion is in Aramaic, which is 15 to 20%, and a very small number of the text is Greek.
Right. But what I'm saying is that it's been, why is the Greek in the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Good question. Why?
Because things are still being circulated from the writing system, right? In Greek, in Greece, but the big writing is being created in later. The completed Gospels and stuff will be completed in Alexandria by a particular group of monastery type Christians. But prior to that, Morpheus, it was the Coptic movement. The Coptic movement was the movement that was competing against the Coptic Christians was competing against the old Coptics, which was dealing with the Greek and the old ancient Egyptian religion. Right. How I know that is because I know that some of the texts that Christ was introduced. I could show you one of those. Right.
So okay. So then, around that period, like you're saying, it was Hellenistic, like King J was saying also, It was a preliminary Hellenistic culture in Judea following Alexandria the Great conquest. So that's why you have, because Greek was the lingua franca. Okay. All right.
So let me go and find this text. I'm going to show you one of the texts where there's the Nile Valley religion happening at the same time as Christ, and they are writing. So you can keep talking, but
yes.
also
So a recap, right? If we look at where we at now so far, right? Where we at? So we're looking at, okay, we got where we started from the earliest writings. The New Testament is Paul's letters, those around 50, the year 50. That's the earliest. Some of them are pseudepigrapha, right? Which is fake, not real, but nonetheless, they still made it into the Bible. They still made it into the canon, right? So you got some about six of them that are in the canon, right? That are fake. Okay. Then we get the Gospels, Mark, the first Gospel, who doesn't know Jesus at all, never met him, never saw him, nothing. So his source that he's getting his information from is the Q source, which is oral stories that's circulating. You know what I mean?
Morpheus, do you think we need to talk about why certain scriptures made it into canon?
Yeah, sure. You can take the lead.
No, I'm just saying in general because I don't think we made it that part yet. I think we're still probably about like 70 to 100 AD right now, where we at with the conversation.
Right. Right. So what we're looking at, right, King, is like, okay, so we understand these gospels, these writings. So that's why I was going into where they've been writing at. Where's the writing at? Where are these things happening at? You know, because we're looking at, like you say, a Mark around 70, Matthew around 80, 85, Luke around 85, also 87, sometime around there. And then we got the last gospel, which is John, which was written at the end of the century. It's written at the end of the century, right? Around 90, 95, right? Well, reportedly, that's the.
But even then, even this time, it's still, these are just loosely circulated around. It's not canon yet at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody may have their own, canon.
There's no canon. You're right. There's no canon that exists at this point, right?
Yep. Not yet. Not yet.
Right. So now we.
And that.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. That's why when we do get to Marcion about like 140 AD, that's why I think he liked Paul because of Paul's particular theology. You know what I'm saying? Like the Gnostic, the divine revelation that Paul, was teaching. I think he kind of just by luck kind of got as the in circulation. Like I say, by the time they kicked him out, it was too late. You know what I'm saying? His canon had already circulated, which was basically just Paul's writing, I think, in Luke. Later, and this is how when they say the word of God, how could it be the word of God if after that you have the Roman government or whoever's adding the editors, they're adding the book of Acts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To combat Paul.
Then we got to talk about the Ebionites. Right?
Basically, James them. That's basically what James group. I believe they were Ebionites.
A lot of people don't know that there were competing early Christian groups, right? Most people don't realize that the Christianity that we have and known today, which is Pauline, right? They don't realize that there were other competing Christian groups that had different, concepts and ideas about what Jesus was, who he was, God, and so forth, right? But it's like, y'all don't know about them, right? You don't know about them. So who's to say, right, that they weren't right? Because the only way we know about what we have now is because Paul's version got accepted by the Roman by the Roman powers that be. His
Exactly.
version. But there were
And
other versions.
let's be clear. That version had no Old Testament.
Yeah, and not only that, remember, he makes the argument in his gospel, that the God of the Torah was a different God than the God of the New Testament.
Exactly. That's why Marcion liked it Paul so much, because that was his Gnostic view. Like I'm always gonna make the argument that Paul theology is a Gnostic theology.
It is a Gnostic a group in teaching. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That Paul's divine revelation. So I mean, and that's the heretic, I think, the heresy that they found in it. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to kick Marcion out. And so once they did, they went back and kind of like re-edited Paul. You know what I'm saying? And added those extra 7 books. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. So inside these gospels, like Book of Mark, you got certain things like interpolations, right? Things that were added to the gospel that weren't a part of the original manuscripts, correct? Like after Mark 16, it ends in Mark 16, but anything after Mark 16, even if most Bibles, if you you have a physical Bible and you read down in the commentary, they'll tell you that anything after this were not in the original manuscripts, right?
yeah. And a lot of anything anti-Jewish, they
Yeah,
was getting out of. You
but they're adding to even the gospels that they do have, right? For example, the story about the prostitute being stoned to death, that wasn't in the original manuscript. And you can look online right now and they tell you those stories were not part of the original manuscripts. So someone is adding, you know what I mean? And it shows you how
we cooking with hot grease now, because now it's popping in my head. That Born a Man,
yeah,
that was added as well. I
yeah,
mean, all these things was added. So it's
yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah. So when someone makes the statement that the Bible is the Word of God, right? It's where I push back at, because I'm going, wait a minute, you got all kinds of interpolations and stuff that even the Christian scholars will admit, yeah, those are interpolations. That wasn't originally there. That wasn't really there. That was added. So if you can admit that and you acknowledge that this is happening, pseudepigraphies. Think about what we just went through. You got the letters of Paul that are pseudepigraphies, right? You got interpolations in Mark, interpolations in John, right? But Christians, to me, and people and Bible believers want to ignore this stuff is happening. They act like this stuff is not happening.
Or worse, they don't know that it's happening because they never looked. They only read the Bible, so they never looked. They never looked about how Christianity actually got into Egypt, because their verses are well, the Hebrews are not even supposed to return to Egypt again, right? But then the Christians have to go there because they are coming from. Remember, where are the Christians? They're in Palestine, and aren't they in Jerusalem? Right? They begin to leave because of the Roman occupation, and then they go and find themselves through their Hebrew networks into Alexandria, because there's a lot of money, a lot of trade, and it's safe. It's safer in Alexandria than it is in Jerusalem for all groups of people, because Rome is stomping down. So then they find themselves and they try to make their new home. And then they start competing with what's already there. So I'm going to show you something that is going to show you early transmissions of the Coptic Church of it bringing in Jesus. So let's go here. Where's it go? Right here. This is it right here.
We just completely just dissecting this Jesus created player character.
Okay, so this is okay. So this is a a text that was now the ancient Egyptian religion is living longer than actually people think it's living, right? But in this Coptic, and we know it's in Coptic because we can mark this particular time period. This is a story about Horus, the son of Isis, and he goes on a hill and he gets sick and he cries out and for help. He wants his mommy. Horus wants his mommy, and Isis and uh, three devils show up, and each of the devils give them a time in which they can get to Isis. So ultimately, Isis, and all of this is about, Egypt. He went on a mountain of On, or Heliopolis, and found Isis, his mother, and etc. Right. So all of this is about Egypt, right? And then ultimately, Isis now comes to help Horus, and and listen to this. Horus, your son, went upon a hill to rest. He cast his line and pulled up in his net. He caught a falcon, a quail, and a wild pelican. He cut it up with a knife. He cooked it without fire. He ate it without salt. He was in pain. His belly ached. So the demon is telling Isis what happened. Isis says, she said to him, even if you did not find me and you did not find my name, the true name that the sun carries to the west, because in ancient Egypt, the sun goes from the west, that the moon carries to the east, that is carried by the 6 altar stars that are beneath the sun, you could adjure the 300 sinews that are around his belly, saying this spell. This is in Coptic. Let every sickness and every suffering and every aching be healed, that it is the belly of the NN. That's how you replace the NN, is you replace the name, son of NN. So replace your name with this name. Be healed now. Now watch this. Isis says, it is I, who is Isis, who calls, it is the Lord Jesus who grants the healing. So in this particular phrase, Isis now, they won over. Isis now prays to Jesus. There you go. Story of the 3 aggregates. So there's a lot of Coptic magical texts where you find Christianity being syncretized with the Coptic, with the ancient Egyptian story, and then creating more Messianic Jews, Messianic Hebrews in Alexandria, right? Want to see what the chat says about that. Here's the story and the scholar, the source. Coptic charms, Horus, Isis, and the 3 aggregates.
So the Messianic Jews, right? The people who are becoming Messianic Jews eventually become Christians.
Oh, yeah, because they have a weapon that they didn't have before. See, before everything was being circulated by stories, by oral stories. Did you hear about the Jesus and the miracles? Did you hear about the making the blind see? Did you hear about, right? Wow. Did you hear about the water to wine? None of that's being written down. These are oral histories, supposedly. But in Alexandria, they start to write. Now they're like the Jehovah's Witnesses. They could go door to door with writing. And somehow when something is written, it's more believable. Because that meant people took the time out to write it down, so it must be true. So the Messianic Hebrews, because now the Hebrews are in Alexandria, they're fighting for their lives, right? They're actually fighting for their lives. They've lost their language. They're reading Septuagint, and the Septuagint seems to be highly, highly manipulated, right? To add things in that wasn't originally in the Hebrew. How do I know this? Because does anybody know about Aquila? Aquila the scribe?
Yeah, I know about Aquila.
Well, the audience, do you know about Aquila? Well, at the time of the Septuagint, sometime after the Septuagint, the Hebrews caught on to the fact of what the Greeks did, right? What the Greeks did was manipulate the Septuagint and wrote things in Greek that were not even in Hebrew. Or here's the big thing, Morpheus. We didn't even tell them that, but in the Septuagint, Yahweh and El disappear. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, God, it completely did. Yeah, a guy named particular Origin. I don't know how many people are familiar with who Origin is.
So let's just get to the Septuagint. Does El and Yahweh appear in the Septuagint?
No, it was removed.
Well, let's stop. So the Hebrews are being weakened, right? Y'all done got hoodwinked. Y'all done got led astray. Y'all got bamboozled because your gods don't even appear in the Septuagint. Did y'all check that?
Yeah. So they took out the name Yahweh and used the word Kyrios, meaning Lord, right? That can be the substitute for anyone, but they literally took it out.
I don't think Yahweh was never ever there, Morpheus. I think El or Elohim was there.
What in the Torah?
Originally, yeah. Because the Torah, keep in mind, the Torah is written in Aramaic. It's not in Hebrew. Their Torah is in Hebrew.
You said the original Torah is not in Hebrew?
Their Torah is not in Hebrew. It's in Aramaic. It's in Arab, yeah. Remember, Ezra comes back out of Babylonia, that captivity. They don't have a Torah before then.
Can you? I'm not challenging you, but can you give me a source on that?
Yeah. We can look at it now. Just looking at the script. Their script is a Aramaic block script, right? It's not the script they use is Arab. They're not writing in a Paleo Hebrew.
No, but when they liberated,
their scroll is Aramaic.
Okay,
that scroll that Hebrew.
Wait.
Just the Torah scroll, I guarantee you, is in that Aramaic block script.
No, that's not the point.
Oh, okay.
The point is not that it's not in a black script. That's the writing. The fact of the matter is that there was a patron in Persia, right? Where through that patron, the rabbinic is on the rabbinic and Talmud emerge, right? And so it is through that process that you get the Torah, because at this time it's the rabbinical movement. They're not priests; they're rabbinical. They're rabbis, and then you get some relief for them to copy that and create a square script. So we're doing all of this so that where we have some difficulties, we can source up, right? We can source up. But I can go while we're talking to show that the Jews that were in Persia, and that was liberated by the Persians, they were allowed to go home and build the second temple.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, if you want to, go ahead. You want to?
I wanted to share my screen for King J.
Okay.
I think that's what he's talking about here. King J, you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so here we have it says the Torah is written in Hebrew.
Okay.
While some other parts of the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, contain Aramaic, right? So there's certain parts, according to this, contain Aramaic. Specifically, books like the Daniel and Ezra, the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, are strictly Hebrew texts. The overlap between Hebrew and Aramaic often leads to questions because of how the language and scripts evolve. The script alphabet, the modern square, I believe that's what you were talking about. Right? Hebrew letters that you see today called Fatah Ashun are actually derived from Aramaic script. Originally, the Torah was written in a different script known as Paleo Hebrew. I think that's where the
Kativ Avri. So you think the Torah? So they're saying the Torah was written in the Kativ Avri still? Okay, but I swear it was still in the Kativ Ashur. Ashur.
well, yeah, that's why I said I think that's where you
Okay.
know.
Okay. It may be my fault.
No, it's cool. It's good. I mean, that's what we do, man. That's what we're here for. We double check shit, so we on point. Gabe, Reggie, what you were saying?
No, I was just responding back to a quote about the Persians liberated Babylon's, defeated Babylon, liberated the Hebrews. The Hebrews then returned to Jerusalem to build their second temple with a new script, right? With a new script. Anybody yapping about Paleo Hebrew and stuff, even when they in the for the first temple, their Paleo, they don't seem to have a scribal school, and so we don't have a whole lot of text about who these people really were. They may have been Canaanites that were captured and then went into Babylon, rather than in fact Hebrews, as you want to call, because there's really no proof of that. So then when they return, they have a script and then they have a global experience. Prior to when they were captured, they didn't have a global experience. They was just pretty much where they were, which we call like 125th Street, the east side. Their world was very, very small, right? But when they come out of Babylon, they're much more global, and they have other they have other ideas. So they have knowledge of the Babylonian religion. They have a knowledge of other territories that they did not have in their long stay. They lose themselves in Babylon and they come out renewed. And so then there's this rabbinical Talmud uh, time period that Hebrews, even though we're not talking about Hebrews right now, really, that they deny. They deny the Talmud. Anytime you see the Talmud, we're not Talmud, we're Hebrew. You lost yourselves. How do you think over 200-300 years you're going to retain what you retain, even if you even had it? So you're like stop it with the bullshit, right? Stop it with the bullshit and the lies. Now, what we're really talking about now is this period now where the New Testament begins to be where the New Testament needs to, the New Testament elements begin to be collected. And what we find is Paul comes out first. And when Paul comes out first, Paul is not mentioning Jesus. He's mentioning Jesus, but he wasn't there with Jesus's time. Paul is Paul is a writer, which is important. He's teaching to the Gentiles. He's trying to convert the Gentiles into this new religion, right? So then later we have the Gospels coming out. The problem with the Gospels when they're coming out, the way that they're coming out, they're not talking about Paul. Even the people who were supposed to be like Luke with Paul, right? So we're seeing an assemblage, right? And many multiple stories that are disconnected, right? We don't have those people that talk about Jesus's life. Well, they're not really they're not accurate, right? Where's Mary in this? Where's the rest of Jesus's family in this? Jesus is actually disappearing, and a doctrine is being created, and nothing that we have in the Jerusalem talks about any of these characters. So we what we're doing is teasing out for another show where we could be a little bit more detailed. We're just trying to give you an overview that what you believe in is just belief. It's been manufactured once you start unpacking all the different elements, right? That happen and where it happens at. It's not happening in Jerusalem. The Palestinian Jewish Jesus, that stuff dies, is reborn somewhere else of other people talking about a period. But those people that are in that area are not talking about any of the stories that you're talking about. So you're Gentiles, or you're Gentile converts, right? You're not, because your story does not stay in the region where it was born. You have other people in another language talking about a story that you believe happened, and they're writing in Greek, and they're writing in ideas in Greek ideas. And Morpheus will show you at another time that even things like the Sermon on the Mount that y'all love so much, it couldn't have been written. It couldn't have been. Jesus couldn't have said it unless Jesus was speaking in Greek. Jesus couldn't have done the Sermon on the Mount unless he was speaking in Greek, not Hebrew. It wasn't converted from Hebrew or Aramaic into Greek. The story as it is presented is entirely in Greek.
Yeah, so if you think about it, y'all people, if you have a Greek, you got 27 books, not one book. You have 27 books, right? The New Testament is all, and if you have this guy Jesus, who's a Hebrew, right? His mother, him and his disciples' mother tongue is Aramaic, right? In the temples and the synagogues, which are, predominantly those books were, they was read, those texts in Hebrew, right? And you have these whole stories, but they're written in a language that is not intended for the people who it supposedly come from. It doesn't make sense, right? Because if the audience, if it's written if I write a book and I write the book in Chinese, who the hell is my intended audience?
Chinese.
Right, it ain't Puerto Rican people, right? If I write a bunch of books and storylines and it's all in Chinese, it's obvious who my intended audience is. So follow that logic. If these books are written in Koine Greek, right, which is sophisticated, right, then the audience are Greeks.
Not Palestinians, not real Jesus followers.
Right.
Not meant for you.
It's not wasn't this. And when we find things like the logos, right?
The word. They know that's the word.
Which it comes from Herodotus. So it has Greek thought. It has Greek thought in it. It's all throughout. It's Greek thought. It's Greek thought. You will not find anywhere in the Torah or the Tanakh or any ideas or concepts about a God becoming, you know what I mean? With man, you're not going to find, because that's not part of Hebrew thought, right? But yet, when you hear in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, that's logos in Greek. That's part of Greek thought. Why is Greek thought inside of these texts?
But I don't think that they get it. The Christianity of Jesus, if there was a Christianity of Jesus, it died, right? It died there, right? It remained, if that's oral and not ever really written. There's no evidence of it. The story is being controlled by the Gentiles, right? And it's being controlled. We'll get to it later more. If we don't think we could do it today, I think we could just tease down some of the other things that we said in Egypt, right? This long period of Messianic Hebrews, right, using Hebrew networks in Alexandria, right? And now using this story. So when I read you the three aggregates, at this time he's Jesus Christ, right? In Coptic at this early time period, they're not writing it for the original story of maybe this person, this historical person, Jesus, who went against Rome, right? That story was reborn somewhere else that helped a Roman story or evolved into a Roman story and not a Palestinian story. You don't have any writing about any of the stuff that you have in the Bible in the place that it occurred, and very little artifacts. You have it in the Gentile world as Gentiles embrace the faith that you claim to believe in. And that becomes a problem because we're talking about how the New Testament constructed. It wasn't constructed for the original Hebrews or that bloodline, that culture. You were just the I don't know, a foundation of a cake, but the cake was eaten by the Gentiles. And so all of the things start to change. Like we were arguing the other day, how Jesus absolutely went against the Ten Commandments, right? Uh, Honor your mother and fathers so their days will be long. No, later it says, hate your mother and father, your brother and your sister, and even hate yourself. Otherwise, you can't be a disciple of mine, right?
That's cult language. I told you they were cult.
Yeah, we didn't get to the cult. Did you talk about the cult language yet?
Yeah, we didn't get to the cult stuff. That's what I'm saying. Just by looking at these things that's going on, you can see that. Okay, we can see that they were heretics, and we can see by definition of what a cult is. And you look at cult behavior, and you see these things in cult behaviors. We've seen it all throughout, even in our lifetimes. We've seen cults. We know the practices and things of cult. What do cults have? What is the common denominator of cults? There's a spiritual leader, right? He's the divine one, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You in order to go to the kingdom of God of heaven and so on, you got to go through that divine leader, right?
That's
All cults, correct? Right? You get stuff, hate your mother, hate your father, hate your brother, hate your sister. You got to do all that to follow me. This is all cult language. Drink my blood, eat my flesh. This is all cult behaviors.
And then there's intermediaries. So
some people become a eunuch and cut their nuts off, right, in order to get in the kingdom. This is all cult behavior, bro.
Well, we didn't get to the whole thing of eunuchs, which is a part of this monastery movement that these Christians will have in the Sahara, in Egypt. But the whole thing is a separation, a religious leader that you can only go through him to get to the next stage.
And what else? What else, Reg?
You have to have.
They all fell apocalyptic doomsday people. The end of the world is coming. And the world is coming. In the world, any day now. It's right around the corner. It's coming like a thief in the night.
Urgency. So there's always in cult behavior, there's always urgency that you have to do this now.
Because doomsday is right around the corner.
And Jesus is that. How do we know Jesus is that? Because in the story, Jesus is talking to this generation, right? You won't pass until you see certain type of things, right? So he's saying that in this particular generation, you will not pass but they pass. So now you have to backtrack. You have to not backtrack the story. You have to get the story more time. You have to look for a new period and then Paul is basically saying, don't get married, don't get children, have children. Am I wrong?
That's right. Yeah, because they believe everything was imminent. Imminent. Everything's about to happen any day now. Any day now.
It didn't happen.
You remember the Hebrew Israelites? What was it in Harlem in 2007? The world is about to end.
Right. That's a lot of, yeah, that's a lot of the One West camp and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah. It didn't happen. So cult behavior takes over in Alexandria, Egypt, where the Christians, your peace-loving, Jesus-loving Christians, actually become assassins and murderers.
Oh, you talking about the cells. Now you're talking about the cells.
I just started mentioning that, but they actually become reclusive and they become killers and they start riots in Alexandria, right? But what they do is so powerful, Rome takes an interest of their fanaticism. But but Morpheus is saying that this is cult behavior and it's happening outside of your holy place. So your holy place is not really your holy place. It's your connection, but everything else is happening somewhere else. But it's not happening to your people. And so it's always interesting to me about people's belief and their usage of the Bible. And I'm not saying they don't read the Bible, but what they don't do is read history. So that's why I put up I'll put up again. King J came in to kind of help with history and some ideas. And nothing that you said, King J, for the most part, I don't disagree with. All I was just trying to say is we was just trying to keep it at a particular point because this is our introduction just to try to figure out how the Bible was constructed. And so it's not really it's really for the Bible thumpers, the ones with the big mouths in the chat. It's for it's to bait them in too. But they don't talk about the history of the Bible, right? They don't talk about the history of the New Testament. They only talk about what's in it, but I don't want to believe it. And they can't believe, Morpheus, that we don't want to believe it and share it and embrace it, right? Reggie, it's right there. The words are right there. And I'm like, I don't see it. You haven't proved anything. You haven't proved the God. You haven't proved the descendancy of God. You haven't proved that Jesus was a king. You haven't proved you haven't proved the prophecies. You haven't proved nothing. But you still want me to believe it. You want Morpheus to believe it and King J to believe it. But you can't convince us. You have to convince us. You have nothing to convince me with. Revelation didn't occur yet. Revelation didn't occur yet. What is this? Asiatic, because heaven is inside of you. So heaven is inside of you. Asiatic. So in your last days, in your last days, I think that's Gnostic type of stuff that you're giving me. But still, how does that help the heavens inside me? I don't see how that helps me. Respectfully.
Heaven is inside of you. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's not some Gnostic mental stuff.
Yeah, that's very Gnostic.
Not disrespecting Asiatic, but how does it help people? See, it wasn't good enough. That Gnostic stuff, it wasn't cultish enough to have a large following. So I want to catch up with Morpheus because he was doing the show. So Morpheus, where are we at now? I don't want to go too far, but so this what I think we're trying to say is that the writings of the New Testament were certainly not created in Jerusalem and Palestine. It seems that some group somewhere else, like in Alexandria, have a agenda to collect letters and history, but they're collecting it outside of the place that was born in. Isn't that interesting? They're collecting all the letters and some history about Jesus outside, away from the people who they can really get the histories from. And the people in the land, right, don't think it as important enough to be writing about it or continuing tradition. So when we get to how now the remember the New Testament is writing, so that means someone has to be writing. Well, they weren't writing it in Palestine and Jerusalem. We know that they're writing it in, or we could prove that they're writing it in Egypt, because everybody's writing in Egypt, right? Even the Septuagint was in Egypt. Everybody's writing in Egypt. So when you start writing, somebody has the liberty to change or make mistakes. But nevertheless, the writing is not happening in the place that this thing occurred. The writing is happening somewhere else. So let me just check. Bible thumpers, tell me where I'm wrong in the chat, because you're not going to come on. Omar, up that $50.
So watch this. Hey Reg, the person.
Wait. I might have somebody. Yeah, Ben, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. Peace to the panel. I'm just listening, Reg. I'm just listening, brother.
Okay. All right, no problem.
I'll comment if I have anything to say.
No, okay. No, go ahead, Martha. Thank you, Ben.
Before you finish, I was trying to address the person who put the comment up that said heaven is inside you.
Oh, yeah. Heaven is inside you.
So if I told you the sky was inside of me, would that make any sense?
No, but heaven is paradise or something. But no, it wouldn't make any sense.
Well, are you sure?
The sky is inside of me?
Share my screen real quick. It's not going to take long. Okay? In Hebrew, when the Bible speaks of heaven, this is the word it used, shamayim, right? The word shamayim in Hebrew, which is all throughout your biblical text, shamayim, which is heavens, means what? I got it highlighted. What does it say?
Right. Yeah, heaven's sky.
It's the sky. Okay. If we keep going through the speech, the masculine, the transliteration, look at the pronunciation, Phoenician, it all means sky. Heaven, sky, heavenly skies, heavenly heaven. Look over here, clouds, the visible arch in the clouds above, right? Why is that? Because ancient people in the ancient world, they believed that God or the gods lived in the sky. This is what and not just Hebrews, all people believe that the gods lived in the skies.
Not all people, but go ahead. But I can understand that, but go ahead.
But in the ancient world, we can look at the Akkadians, we can look at the Babylonians, we can look at, I can go throughout the whole thing, right? And that word, Ma'im, it doesn't mean what people mean today, right? When we say the word heaven today, I understand what you're trying to say, but it's like, no, that is not the original meaning of that, right? When people think of heaven today, they're thinking about some type of celestial abode, it's a spiritual abode. But if you're reading the text, when it's talking about heaven, it's just talking about the sky. That's why I said it has a firmament. The firmament is where? Above the earth in the sky.
Yeah,
right?
some ancient peoples believe that gods existed in the sky, but for the most part, within ancient Near East, most of them believe they existed on mountaintops. So
you said, and the mountaintops is where? In the skies, at as high as the mountaintop, into the clouds. I could show you ancient Babylonians. I could show you Akkadians. I could show you. So it's like, bro, it's like this is what they believed in the ancient world. You know what I mean? They're not thinking about the way what we think about today. When we say heaven, we think about some celestial, you know what I mean? Some celestial abode. And You can have that view, but however, that's not the view that the text is talking about when it says sky, right? It claims that God, his kingdom is in the sky. And he says in the clouds, he's coming through the clouds. Remember, Jesus is going to be coming from heaven for his kingdom. Where's his kingdom? Coming out of the clouds. You're talking about this. This is what they're talking about.
Okay, so now, Omar, I see you in the chat. I'm not going to let you on until you send Morpheus his $50. I'm not going to let you talk. You can talk on sa.neter's show if he lets you on, but anybody that says that they is going to make a bet and lose and doesn't pay, I don't respect you. So
what was the bet, Reggie?
He said if we could show one place where Jesus broke the law, right?
We already did that.
That's what I'm saying. It was like, what are you talking about, bro? But that was the bet. He bet me and Reggie $50 a piece. If you could just show one place where Jesus broke the law, I showed one, Reggie showed another. It's like, okay, now what?
Cyrus kept all of the laws that Jesus was supposed to do all those things.
right, but we were arguing. One of the things that we were arguing about was the rationale for the Hebrews going to the Romans and putting Jesus to death.
Yeah.
And Jesus, his own man, said that the reason why the Romans are doing this is because he broke the Sabbath, and he said that he's God, right? So then we were arguing about breaking the Sabbath. What he did was work because the man was paralyzed, but it wasn't an imminent threat of death, right? So Jesus decided to help the man who is paralyzed with work, right? It wasn't imminent death. He could, and that Jesus was supposed to be so important that he could have put him under the grace of God in Jesus, and until the Passover was, until the Sabbath was over, right? But Jesus decided to break the Sabbath, and he also broke other in the textual arguments. He also broke other laws and so I don't want to go back and forth with that, but this dude he doesn't want to put so I don't want to go back and forth with apologetics. And look, sa.neter allows anybody to do a presentation. He's always looking for new talent. But if you trash, you trash. And if you want to put on a presentation, you can. But listen, we've had Jehovah, the Holy Spirit. We've had come on, Nature Boy, who's on Hulu right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's told me he got a Hulu show. Nature Boy, young Pharaoh. The list goes on of people. You're free to sa.neter will give you an opportunity, but you just can't come on here with no information, just reacting and getting your name out, right? So that's where that is with that. So you can stay in the chat. I'm gonna time you out. I got permission to time you out, so keep playing around. The fact of the matter is, what we're trying to say is that the New Testament was written elsewhere and not for the people. It did not help the people of the land where Jesus came from. As a matter of fact, when Rome took over and Rome was basically committing people into slavery, Jesus said through one of his intermediaries, slaves, obey your earthly masters. Why would he say that? Why would he say, slaves, obey your earthly masters? Right? So these things, these points seem to point to another culture not helping the culture that it came from. Right? And not meant for the Palestinians.
Was it meant for Palestinians, Reggie? Did that exist back then?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was meant for, it was to that audience. Jesus's message was not to the Gentiles, it was to the
Oh,
Messianic Hebrews in that area.
mhm.
Yeah. This is where
I
this.
would.
Okay.
I was gonna say I would look at James as well, and just the fact that how they stoned him to death. They stoned James. He was a church leader representing Jerusalem, right? I like to argue that he's the Ebionite. Those are the Ebionites who hold fast to the traditions of circumcision. Something that Paul and Pauline doctrine
Well,
preach.
you can't argue for him without the Bible. Why do you do that when we have to go back to the people who wrote the Bible, because you can't, there's no evidence of him
Of
in the
James.
place. Yes.
Okay,
There's no evidence of James in Jerusalem in
but
Palestine.
what about the Ebionites in Jerusalem?
Well, we could talk about the Ebionites. There's evidence of that,
Okay,
but
well, yeah,
what about
okay.
James?
Mhm. Well, James to me is represents that Ebionite in Jerusalem, that doctrine of
But we
holding
don't
fast to
have
circum.
James. We have the Ebionites.
Yeah, we don't have James. We have Eben. Okay, for sure. So
So I don't want you to look when you're going to be better than me,
mm,
right? Better than Morpheus. Don't go to CDE and acquiesce to a faulty premise unless you can prove the premise.
the
James
premise.
is part of the Bible narrative where they're putting meat on the Paulinian story. Paul is
Mhm.
important because he builds the institution of the church, right? Or he says he does. But we're not really sure that there was a Paul anyway, right?
No,
But we can, if we grant them that, when we do find the church fathers talking about him, he's only a missionary without the grandiose stories.
to the Gentiles.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of the issues is that we have, man, is that when you start from the very beginning, a lot of times we make the mistake of granting, you feel me, the first
Mhm.
premise, the very
Right.
first premise, right? And then what happens is if I grant you that first premise, now I'm committed to, because it's
The
like a vampire.
fallacy. Hmm.
Yeah, because
Yep.
now I got a battle with you because it's like that vampire story. You let him in the house. You let him in the house.
Hmm.
If you don't stop him
Hmm.
at the door and say no, you got to establish premise number one before we get into any of the other stuff. You got to establish premise number one.
Yep.
But if I grant you that, you know what I mean.
Then the boy. Mm-hmm. From the fairy tales and the.
I granted it. I granted it.
Mhm.
But then it's like, for instance, like King J. Tell me if you ever thought about this. Now, according to the narrative, Paul was out rounding up Christians, correct?
Different choices.
Do you know that there is no evidence at all that the Pharisees ever gave warrants out to people to go chase down? No.
Did you hear what Morpheus said, y'all? The Pharisees never get. Did you say that again slow?
Okay, all right. Now, according to the story, Paul says that he persecuted Christians, right? Right. And not only, but on this road to Damascus, why he was going to Damascus was again to round up Christians, correct? But when you go and actually check from the Pharisees, you can look at the Talmud, all the Talmudic stuff. There is no evidence ever that they ever gave Paul or any Pharisee, anybody to go round up Christians. Warrants. Let's call it warrant. They didn't give them a warrant. They didn't have the authority to give warrants for that. Right? They didn't have no authority to give
But
warrants.
they believed this. They believed that Saul was going out there, but the history says that he didn't have the authority given to him by whom?
Oh,
By whom?
but once again, if you grant that, then now you got, if you drink the Kool-Aid, the first part, now you in it. You feel me? If you grant that happened, now you got to deal with him on the road to Damascus and the vision that he had and blah, 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 blah. But if he never was on the road to Damascus, never got a warrant to go, you know what I mean, go search or find Christians, then we don't have to deal with his vision and all that other stuff. But if I grant that first part, you're in trouble.
Then we don't have Jesus. Then we don't have Paul. We don't have Jesus.
Right. But
It's over with.
Yeah. So look, we look at the storyline and say, just follow the storyline. Okay. He was rounding up Christians. By who? He had a warrant. Who gave him the warrant? The Pharisees. All right. Let's confirm that. Did Pharisees ever give Pharisees a Sahih? No. It's like they never did that. It's like, where did we get that from? We get it from him. He's the one that's saying that I was a Pharisee, I was a so-and-so. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, that's a circular argument. It's like, no. How do we confirm what we're reading? He said that the Pharisees gave him a warrant to go, round up Christians, and he was persecuting them, right, by the warrant, but that they gave him to go round up Christians. What evidence do we have for that?
Well, and he's in Damascus. So they gave him a warrant to go outside of Jerusalem. They have that power.
Yeah.
So you're going to drag somebody out from Damascus, right, back into Jerusalem? You're going to go that far hunting people? Who's he hunting, by the way?
Yeah.
Who is he hunting? Why does he have to go to Damascus to hunt people? Why is he? Who is he?
Anyone following Jesus?
Why do you have to go that far?
Anyone following Jesus, and he got arrested in Jerusalem.
No, all of that is a story. So let me share my screen. Let me
look at what it says. It says, while there is no extra biblical physical evidence, let me say it again. There is no extra biblical physical evidence like an original papyrus warrant. The New Testament provides specific accounts of legal authorization by Paul. But this is Paul saying it. Paul is the guy who's in question. If he's the guy in question, why am I listening to what he said? We're trying to verify what you said, Paul. You said this. You said that there was authorized. You were authorized, and you had legal authorization, which is a warrant to go and search these, find Christians. And it's like outside of the Bible, outside of the biblical narrative, there's no evidence for that, bro. And none of the Jewish writings, none of the rabbis, none of the, the Talmud, none of this stuff. But if you grant that, there you go.
Okay, so let me just share this. Okay, share screen. Okay.
Okay, we don't have like particular evidence, but Paul describes the what happens in those situations almost to a T. That's why scholars equate that to just accepting that as historical.
Yeah,
because he writes about it and he describes historically the type of procedures of getting those ordinances to go and do things.
But it's not true. Show us where those ordinances are actually true.
I mean, you're asking for evidence that's not there, but the point is it's circumstantial evidence because he is accurately describing historical features. That is what scholars.
But the Hebrews, the rabbinical Jews don't agree.
And this is why Dr. Bar Ehrman disagrees with you guys, by the way.
Hold on, stop. Bar Ehrman agrees with us that what?
He disagrees.
Disagrees that what?
That Paul wasn't persecuting Christians, and he agrees that Paul was a zealot and that he was indeed persecuting Christians according to his own writings. Which
you know what's funny? I'm looking at it right here. He don't say that. I'm literally on Bart's page right now.
Yeah, no, we can pull it up.
Yeah, no. This is okay. Let me pull this up. It's funny that you pulled it up because while y'all was talking, I was already on there. All right. You see this right here? You see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what he's saying here. All right, just for reading. So this was June 27th, 23rd, 2023. The question is, was Paul authorized to persecute Christians? That's what we're asking, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he said, who gave Paul the authority to persecute Christians? He says the book of Acts suggests it was the authorities in Jerusalem. Can that be right? In fact, is Acts right in what it says about Paul generally? The question matters. He says, Act provides our oldest surviving narrative description of the first 30 years of Christianity and the only narrative source of life of Paul before the legendary Acts of Paul from century later is a terrifying entering books, but what can we say about the historical accuracy? I was browsing through the post for some good old days blogs.
You're talking about Acts. Acts isn't generally understood to be a historical text, but what scholars do is understand that there is some essence of historical reliability about persecution. That's my point.
But I got your point, and that's the narrative.
That's the narrative, right?
But that's not. But the question was asked. If the question existed immediately, Bart Ehrman would have said yes, right? So he asked the question because he's a professor. He teaches, and so that is a research question. Just because the consensus agrees, it could be a consensus of apologists, right? So we don't even know if Paul existed, right? So you got to acquiesce. You're acquiescing to the fact that Paul existed, and thus all these things are true. So share my screen. I'm gonna share my screen. All right. So I know that people think that we're weirdos and we just hate the Bible and all of that. So I go ask a ChatGPT engine. It says I asked it on the questions about what do we have on the New Testament. Scholars universally agree we do not possess a single original New Testament manuscript, no autographs. Everything we have is copies, papyri, parchment, lectionaries, versions, ranging from tiny fragments to complete codices. Textual critics can reconstruct the earliest reachable text by comparing these copies because the original copies are gone. So any claim about where it was written is already inferential. What we actually have in our hands are Egyptian papyri and late codices, not Palestinian notebooks. The earliest manuscript story is Egyptian, right? A researcher on the New Testament papyri notes that the entire corpus was first written on papyrus, and every single papyrus has been found in freaking Egypt. List of New Testament papyri, P1, P4, P45, P46, P52, etc., show that these early papyri are either found in Egypt, in these places, Araxaninus, Fayum, Egyptian antiquities, or acquired there. P52, John 18 fragment, often cited as the earliest New Testament piece, comes from the Egyptian market and is a broader or Oxyrhynchus Egypt papyrus stream. On early papyrus, other early papyrus, P90 or John P98 on Revelation, the Chester Beatty papyri for Gospels / Paul, or likewise found or codices from Roman Egypt. So now what we can do is we can let's go over here, biblical archaeological report, Bible archaeological report, earliest New Testament manuscripts, all found in Egypt. All these books were written in the lifetime and the death of Jesus. That's not so-called the other Gospels. And then it goes over here. Let me see. Papyrus P90. Why? Because it's got the paper, the papyrus. P90 and P104, right? They are written in Egypt.
They're like small fragments that can fit in your hand.
In Egypt, not in Palestine, not in Jerusalem. All of this was written in Egypt. In Egypt. Revelation, fragments of, right? All of this was written in Egypt. So the question of this whole chat, that right, we're not all over the place, was about the New Testament. Where was it written? It was written in Egypt.
And that's going to be, let's make that part 2 of the show. Why? What's happening in Egypt? What's happening in Alexandria? Right? Because it's very, very important.
Oh yeah. We got a lot of part 2s, Morpheus. We got a lot of part 2s, but this will be a part 2. But first of all, I'm gonna put up Morpheus's Cash App again. Support Brother Morpheus.
I want to ask my brother King J and Ben Eaton a question when we get a minute.
Yeah, sure. Let me go and find. You can talk while I put up your Cash App, and somebody buy me breakfast. It's getting late. I mean, buy me breakfast.
Hey, Ben Eaton, you there?
I think he's there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now, bro.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ben Eaton, do you know what a variant is?
Like a manuscript variant, like a textual
variant?
Yeah.
You're like a variant.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay. What do you think of? What is your thoughts about variants? I'm just curious what your thought is. No right or wrong answer.
I think textual variants are a natural product of when literature gets copied.
So would you say variants?
It's always going to be a variant.
So would you say variants are discrepancies?
Variants can be discrepancies. It just depends on the context. I mean, and it just depends on the I guess the particular case. That's what I meant.
I mean, because if a variant is a different, it's a discrepancy by definition of what I guess original thing is. So the different changes between different parts. So that's why they call it's defined as a discrepancy.
Yeah,
right?
but like I say, it could vary. It could vary from very small discrepancies to very large. Some large discrepancies can alter.
How about if you got a manuscript? I'm sorry.
I would say.
Let me just land that some variants can alter the meaning of a text out there.
No, I agree with you.
But but for the most part, if we're talking about New Testament textual variants, most of them are small.
Well, wait, stop. What we have is no original.
Let me finish first.
We don't have no original of almost anything in ancient.
And not only that, real quick, Morpheus, we'll see a lot of those different variants in hand copied manuscripts, right?
Okay, so let me ask you this, right? What if it has 100 variants? Would you think that's significant?
On what we're talking about.
It depends on the type of variant. Are we talking about are we talking about like repeating the same words over and over?
You can say 100. You can say 100.
No, wait. I gotta say this. I don't care. I gotta say this. We have variants of copies.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Let me do this. That's what I'm trying to get to. So what I'm asking, I'm being specific, right? If we have, let's say, 30, let's say we got 1,000 different copies. And in those 1,000 different copies, let's say we got 2,000 variants. Would you think that's significant?
Again, most variants are very small, so most can be insignificant. Some can be. It just depends on the case. It depends on the case. You have to give me a case. I can work.
Okay, here's the case right here. Reggie, share my screen.
Yeah.
And I want your honest opinion. Right, here's my screen. Scholar, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Scholars estimate there are 200,000 and 500,000 textual variants in the New Testament manuscripts. While this number sounds massive, actually more than the number of words in the whole New Testament itself, it requires context to understand what these errors actually represent.
That's what I said.
Understanding the numbers, the total variance. Most modern estimates land around 400,000 total words. The Greek Testament contains roughly 138,000 words. Ratio, this averages out to about 3 variants for every single word. Now let's go over what counts as a variant, right? Well, like what you said, bro. A variant is any difference in wording, word order, omission, addition, or spelling between one manuscript or another. It is important, excuse me, where was I at? Fuck. Let me open this back up. Sorry, brother. Where was I just at? Come on. Where did this open up at? Can you still see?
Yeah, we see everything.
Yeah, we about to move this over. I don't know how the hell I did that. Okay, I'm sorry. So when we look at what counts as a variant, like we said, a variant is a difference in wording, word order, omission, addition, spelling between manuscripts and another. The cumulative accounting, if a single word is misspelled 3,000 different manuscripts, it is often counted as 3,000 separate variants, even though it's the same single mistake. The 99%, we can go to the rule of all that. So you said some is insignificant. Let's look at that. The meaning rule versus insignificant errors. Textual critics categorize variants by whether they are meaningful, like you said,
Yep.
which changes the sense of the text, and viable, has a real chance of being the original. The insignificant is only less than 1%. So the insignificant 1%, the vast majority cannot be translated into English because they don't change the meaning. Cool. Significant, less than 1%. Only about 1% of variants actually affect the meaning of the text. Where we at?
Yep.
Right. Meaning of a passage, excuse me. Major disputed passages. There are a few large-scale variants that appear in modern Bible with brackets or footnotes, such as the long end of the mark, like I was talking about earlier, which is not found in the older manuscripts, right? The women caught in adultery, as I brought that up earlier, often bracketed in translation because it's not in the early manuscript. So if we look and we see that there's approximately in between 200 to 500 different textual manuscripts. I'm asking you, do you think that they are, not all of them are significant, but that's a hell of a lot of variance, bro.
But we have a lot of manuscripts. Most manuscripts are very late, well into the medieval period. But because we have a lot to work with, that's why we have a lot of variants, because these things are copied and copied and copied throughout the centuries.
Which is what Reggie was saying.
Text in history, so more text, more manuscripts, more variants.
Okay, so this is why. Wait, I was waiting.
Okay, Reg.
Okay, so if you have copies of variants and you don't have the original copy, then we don't need. All we can really just say is what they are. Copies and variants, but none of that makes any of that true.
That's for most of the literature in the ancient world, though, Reggie. Most of what we have left are copies and copies of copies. Not even copies, even recoveries from other writers writing or quoting their work. So we have to rely on other writers quoting their work.
You cut me off, right?
I apologize. I'm sorry.
And I disagree, because there is a religious, spiritual part of this. Then all of it falls apart, because God and Jesus didn't preserve their own writings, nor did they write. I would accept your argument if it wasn't bound to religion. But these copies or human copies, and we know because they're misspellings, right? There's words missing, there's mistranslations, And so to have so many variants, it's not divine at all. But if we was arguing any other document, right, where we don't have the original, then that is fine, but not this one.
I agree with you, Reggie. So
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So when I'm arguing, I respect whatever religion that you have. I respect your personal faith. I respect you as a human being. I do. But when you're trying to, not you, Ben, certainly not, but when you're trying to do the okey doke on me and justify the fact about copies of copies, and I just showed you, right? I just showed you that the papyruses, I just showed you a copy of the papyruses that they have, the fragments. Let me show it to you again, not you, of course, but to the audience, just to drum home my point. These,
yeah. So, brother, while he's pulling it up, you got it, Reg? It says, so real quick, it says, because I just asked that same question, comparing the New Testament to any other ancient manuscripts, right, that of textual variants, which has the most? It says the New Testament has the highest number of textual variants than any ancient work. This is actually a direct result of it having the largest number of surviving manuscripts, like you said.
Yeah.
You did say that, right? Yeah, absolutely. But when compared, right, to any other ancient manuscripts, the New Testament has the highest number, right, of textual variants. Is all I'm saying.
Well, Morpheus, what would I say if I suggested that actually having those more messy variants would probably suggest to actually being more probably truth and being just handled by a lot of different more people than just being controlled by one person? What if I suggested that just having one copy, one document that was the same spread across the country and was identical in every way would probably allude to some sort of a later type of a forgery?
Well, the problem is we don't have any originals, right, to compare it to, right, to know, right, if it's any discrepancies. We don't have any originals. There are no originals. There is none whatsoever. There's no. That's the problem in academia. It's like we don't have any originals, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I agree. They made it up.
right. So if I can't compare, if all I have is a copy or a copy of a copy of a copy, and I say, how do I know that the copy that I got, right, is accurate if I don't have the original to compare it to know if it's accurate or not? You know what I mean?
So that's like saying if we have two copies and they both disagree, how do we know which one is true?
Exactly. That's the conundrum. That is actually you put your finger on the conundrum. You feel me? Because there's no way for us to know that, which is what all the scholars acknowledge. Like, we don't know. We know we got copies of copies of copies of copies of manuscripts of copies.
We need that original.
Yeah, we don't know that. We don't have the original. We don't have the original to compare it to. You know what I mean?
Okay. So here's okay. Remember, just to be fair, I was talking and I was trying to pull up something, and then we got into three not new arguments, but the same arguments. So I'd like to finish my point, right? And how can I say? My point is, okay, how we began to get these fragments and this evidence is that two scholars went looking for evidence, and they decided that Egypt would be the best place because it's the writing center. And what they started doing was finding text in garbage dumps. So they had located garbage dumps, and in those garbage dumps of those settlements of that particular period, they went through it. So they began to, some of the earliest manuscripts were in garbage dumps, the earliest ones, not the later ones. So the problem is the earliest ones that they find in the garbage dumps, right? There are variants and variants of variants of them that until you have completed text of the New Testament, so they can track. Uh, they can track. So it says P90 is a small fragment of papyrus with portions of the Gospel of John on both sides in Greek. It has been dated paleographically to the 2nd century AD. This text is part of the Araxanicus papyrus, a group of manuscripts discovered in ancient garbage dumps near Archerakas in Egypt, right? So the earliest manuscripts that they have were in garbage dumps already. Then what they do, one of the things that they do is they track the variants of the copies of this, because we do not have, scholars date the writings of Matthew's gospel to the late 50s and early 60s of the 1st century. This is due to part of a comment by the church father Irenaeus that Matthew also issued a written gospel among the Hebrews in their own dialect. So this is problematic because they're dating Matthew to the 50s or early 60s by someone even later, Irenaeus, right, who makes a comment. So okay, so we're over here. We say, early church records that John lived in the final years of his life, and Ephesus dying as an old man sometime near the end of the 1st century. This means that the two manuscripts date to within 100 to 150 years of the original autographs, right? For comparison, Pliny the Elder wrote in his Encyclopedia of Natural History in the 1st century of the earliest manuscripts we have is from the, watch this. For comparison, Pliny the Elder wrote his Encyclopedia of Natural History in the 1st century, and the earliest manuscripts we have is from the 5th century, a gap of 400 years. So here you Bible thumpers or your earliest manuscripts already put in garbage dumps. And from these, we can track new variants and variants of copies and copies and copies. So what we have is, it's not in Hebrew, it's in Greek, it's in garbage dumps, right? And then and it's not complete. And then later we will have complete ones that differ from the variants. I mean, from the ones pulled from the garbage dumps and the more recent finds. So what does this one say? For Jews, for us, it is not permitted to kill anyone, so that the word of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying what kind of death he was going to die. Entered therefore again in the Praetorian Pilate and summoned Jesus and said to him, "Thou art King of the Jews?" ? Right? So
so the bold black is the fragmented part.
The what?
The part that's in bold black is the part that's fragmented.
Yeah, this is it right here. This is the fragment. It's written on both sides.
Yeah.
Right?
Hold on, Reg. Hey, Reg.
Yeah.
I'm looking up here, and I didn't think so, because it says Jesus' name is not mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
No, of course not.
I thought you were just showing P52, the Dead Sea Scrolls, right?
No, this is papyrus P52 of the garbage dump.
Oh, the garbage dump. I thought you were. Oh, okay. I thought it was Dead Sea. Sorry. Okay.
I'm showing the earliest papyruses of that they have of the New Testament.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just stepped away from it. I looked away and I was like, huh? That's not the. Okay. I'm sorry. Got garbage dump.
Right. So, and we have this in Jesus, and what we're saying is that later these things. Okay, so let me read the rest of this. So Pilate answers him, Pilate and summoned Jesus and said to him, "Thou art King of the Jews?" And King I am. Watch this. In this papyrus, it says, yeah, Jesus says, King I am. For this I have been born, and for this I have come in the world so that I would testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truest hears of my voice, said to him, Pilate, what is truth? And this having said, again, he went out unto the Jews and said to them, I find no one fault in him. Right? So in this thing, Jesus says to Pontius Pilate, yeah, a king I am. I am the king, for I have been born for this. I've come in the world so that I would testify to the truth. Now, if you go into the Bible, I don't think that you're going to read it this way, right? Everyone who is of the truth hears of me my voice. Says him, Pilate, what is the truth? And this having said, again, he went out onto the Jews and says to them, I find no one fault. I find not one fault in him. So now you have a problem because now your earliest fragments say this and your Bible says something else, right? And so there's another story about how the scribal school, what the scribal school of looked like in Egypt. But these are what we're talking about of where was the New Testament created, right? And we have fragments of manuscripts. So your story is man-made and it doesn't gel well with the King James version that you so believe in, many of you, right? So uh, I'm trying to figure out if y'all understand what we are talking about. I want to see from the chat, right? That there are so many variants. It wasn't written for the Palestinians. It was written in another language for another people, a new faith in a new place. Do you see what we're talking about? Do you see? I mean, okay, so now I'm going to put up again. Let me just check. I don't think, I think, let me see if I got any support from you for this long show, right? Do y'all hate, I know you hate me, but the information, do you hate the information? Right? If you could use it against me, I mean, if you could use it against us, use it, please. Please use it against us.
We just trying to give y'all understanding of what you're reading, right? How it comes about, how is it manufactured, who are the players, the writing system. Although we're trying to get you to understand what it is that you're reading, you know. That's what we're doing. I'm sorry if it ruffles your feathers, but this is stuff that you would have learned. This was interesting about it. These are the type of things that you would learn if you went to Bible college or seminary, right? I want y'all to understand this, right? These are the type of things that you would learn in Bible college or in seminary. This stuff that we're showing you right now. Do they understand that, Reg?
Well, they think that if they went to seminary school, that they wouldn't have to do the work, right? They wouldn't have to learn Greek. they wouldn't have to. They think that seminary school is going to justify their Bible belief, and that doesn't happen. And a lot of people, what you're finding out is those people that went to seminary school, they went as Christians, and then they leaving Christianity in droves. But you people are staying in Christianity. And I'm gonna put up my cash app again because Morpheus, we're gonna get ready to close this showdown because I haven't received not a cheeseburger.
That's a damn shame.
Right? I haven't received a cheeseburger.
And I'm saying this is education. This is stuff that I learned when I went to Bible. I had to learn this stuff. You know what I mean? You had to learn this stuff. You know, and I'm like, yo, we giving y'all education. You know what I'm saying? On understanding the books that you are, you know what I mean, that you're reading or that you know, subscribe to. Giving you information, you know, on the very books.
Yeah. So what's New Mindset says? We know it's false. You can't hold on to one part then prove another. Okay, we get it. The thing is now you go on the chat and soon you're going to hear Morpheus debate with Apostle. Apostle lost horribly, right? But there's a narrative here that people present false information and that information is correct. But hopefully we'll see that Apostle actually used American law to justify Hebrew law. Apostle preached most of the episode, most of the debate. What else did Apostle do, Morpheus?
I don't know. I don't know. I thought he was in the wrong debate, man.
This is the thing. He spent the whole
round
time dealing with what the Bereshit means in Hebrew. Remember that, Morph?
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing?
He spent the whole round on the Bereshit, saying and pronouncing it in Paleo Hebrew.
I'm like, yo, dude, are you in the right debate, man? Like, what's going on here right now?
So let me stop sharing my screen. So what we're doing is, how can I say? What we're doing is giving you our methodology, our combined methodology of everybody here on King James, Ben Eaton, Morpheus, and Reggie. I've asked for the Bible thumpers to come up here and prove your stuff. We are saying that I just showed you from my other source that the New Testament was written in Egypt. I showed you the earliest fragments in Egypt. I showed you that they were in Greek. We also said, and we can show by other scholars, that they are copies of copies of copies with no originals. We could show easily that there are things added to it.
Yo, it said over 300, what was it, 200 to 500,000 variants. Whoa.
So then it comes to the point that the people that come on these channels, easy bands, oh man, there's a list of them. They're going to tell you about the Bible, and they're going to defend the Bible word for word, but they're not going to tell you the things that we're talking about, that we can only find we can only find Paul. Paul is the first thing that comes out. But the earliest Greek writers say that Paul is just a missionary that builds the church. But they don't confirm all of the stories in what Paul says, right? And Paul is not writing for the people that Jesus was trying to save. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's
I
nothing.
do. I do.
Yeah,
And, and another point that just came in my head that what Morpheus and what you keep talking about with the variance and how that played a role with Alexandria, as how the regional variants existed until kind of it got to Alexandria, where they came up with a more of a unified canon. Does that make sense?
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. You
And
know,
then I'm thinking about your point on, and we were talking about earlier, Koine Greek. The Alexandria scribes were more trained in like more of a classical Greek, right? So they would have polished everything up. You know what I'm saying? Gotten
this
everything.
this is a
I
high
feel you.
this is a
Mhm.
high educated game that's going on,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
This is sophisticated. You feel me, King? This is sophisticated. You know,
yeah.
but
This is for the educated elites for sure.
there you go, there
Mhm.
you go, there you go. But the thing about it is, trying to understand and unpack it. You know what I mean, so that you understand. So when you pick up a book to read it, you understand how how that book came to be, and and all the hands involved, and
Exactly.
the
And then part two, Morpheus talk about. We didn't talk about how we're going from. Remember, we're going. People were carrying them big old scrolls around. How we're
uh,
going from scrolls to codex into the book format. You know what I'm saying? That plays a part too.
yeah, 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 yeah. All that is, man. That's all it is. But the more you understand it, the more you understand what you're reading, you're going to get a different, different perception of what you're reading. You know what I mean? It's literature. They're trying to control the literature. You know?
Imagine back in the day going around with a bunch of trying to carry a bunch of scrolls to debate. You trying to find a point, you gotta like, yeah, it wouldn't
Yo,
be.
wait until yo, King J, wait until I get into origin in the hexapla. That's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah, I'm excited. This part one definitely was just getting wet.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, we jump on and preach y'all, appreciate y'all, contributing. You know what I mean? And jumping on, man. Hey, just contributing. We ain't debating, we ain't arguing. You know what I mean? We breaking it down and we unpacking it. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
Yeah, been eating. You there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, bro. All right, just making sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, bud. You got anything you want to say, bro?
Oh no, man, it was a pleasure being on with you guys, man. You know, it's always a pleasure with my brother Reggie and King J, man. So it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We appreciate that. But so part two, we're going to get into the next step, which is really going to be, because this is the intro. The next session on this subject is going to get real deep, because we're gonna pull the curtain all the way back. You know what I mean, on the New Testament and the Bible and stuff. We're gonna pull it all the way back. You know. So, hey, Reg, you there?
Yeah, I'll be there in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But King J, when you get a chance, right ahead of time, look into origin in the hexapla. That's gonna blow your mind.
Okay, I will. I'm gonna write it down now and make it write a note.
Yeah, when you see this, you're gonna be like, oh,
When y'all jumping back? Are y'all going to try to do like a late night? I see Reggie been jumping on lately, late night. Is this something y'all finna try to keep up?
yeah, we're gonna try to do it like this, man, for a minute and see,
Mhm.
how it works. You know what I mean?
No, my whole thing is, first of all, the people have to support. So I can do it anytime.
Fact.
I can do it anytime, but except for the times that sa.neter is on. So I know who won the game, because that's going to tell us how sa.neter is tomorrow. Any
I got
right?
to check it out. See, I hope the nigga did win.
But if we could do it anytime as time permits. But what the problem is one is just the audience, and two, the interest. So we want to come on tonight just to give an intro and like the other show that we did was we got to do a part 2 on the other show that we did, and this 2 is another show. What we're trying to do, and then Morpheus has a big show where he has friends, and they have big channels, and these are uh, uh, Justin from Deconstruction. So these are people that you might find, and like Justin is a seminary graduate, right? And he has a big show for European audiences, and he also has a partner called the Bible Teacher,
the
Bible Guy, and they watch Morpheus and they talk to Morpheus, and so they have said that they want to come on our show, right, with Morpheus. So we will be showing that hopefully sometime maybe next week or something, where they come on, and now we're gonna see where the rubber meets the road. So these Bible thumpers, now they get to talk to the people they say who they say are not the experts. Well, these are the experts. Yeah, they're gonna get a chance to talk to the big boys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. sa.neter gonna be happy. The next one.
Oh, he's gonna be overjoyed. He's over here sa.neter's trying to make a baby right now. Yeah. So the next one. Oh, I know sa.neter is so happy, boy.
Yeah, 108 to 94.
Wow, thanks. So the question is, we have the ability to bring on the other audiences onto our show, right, on this topic, and they have been waiting. I mean, literally waiting, but they don't want to be like, they don't want to sound racist. They don't want to be racist. So they haven't come on the show, but now they're gonna come on the show, right? They just don't want to be racist. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. We want to have academic conversations, man. Like, you know what I mean? We don't want to get into the slinging mud shit. We ain't trying to do that.
Right. So and we don't want them. We don't want our audience to be racist and call them white and stuff like that. They got big channels, right? Mm-hmm. When they do a show, they get a minimum of at least $1,000 a show on Cash Apps, at least per show, and they do shows every day. But our audience, all we can do is name call, like you name call me, sometimes Morpheus, but most of the time you name call me. But I'm up late night, 1:46 in the morning, to do a show with Morpheus to unpack and tell these Bible thumpers you don't know where your New Testament came from. You just think it appeared out of thin air, that God put it. That's not the truth. Like my brother Asiatic, who doesn't always agree with me, he give me a hard time, but he says our salvation relies on the dumpster.
All right, that's a good one.
So we'll get to another part, but
that was a good one.
The last time I checked, I got no support, and Morpheus should tell me in the morning.
I caught that Asiatic.
Okay, I did get who did I give? Cam. Thanks so much, Cam. That's about it. I got one Cash App for all of this, because you know what? I know that most of you don't really care. You want the Bible thumpers to win, right? You really want them to win. And you don't support your own. Listen, if 100 people gave just $1 to me and Morpheus, what could we say? And I know you got $1. I know you got $2.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know that some of you got $5. Right? I'm doing it to do $5 or $10 yet. Not everybody has Cash App or PayPal. That's true. But I am gonna put my PayPal. Marketing. Wait, rap marketing.
A lot of people don't realize is that the time that we put in, right, to do the research, right, you know what I mean, to present it to you, to y'all out there. It's like, yo, we spending, you know what I mean, we're doing research. We're doing research that we putting presentations and PowerPoint and stuff, man. It's like, come on, y'all, really?
Yeah, and follow up and teasing out. And guess what? When you really want to count, who do you call? Who you look out for? Morpheus, Brother Reggie, and a few others to hit the home run. Like on science, who do you when Unc is talking about science ain't African science? You can expect Brother Reggie to stand up to him. You can expect Brother Reggie to stand up to Captain Tazariot. And if necessary, and have face to face, eye to eye, mano a mano, right? Boots on the ground, right? And I do YouTube stuff, but I also do direct, right? Morpheus does direct, especially when he was in New York. Can you do Zelle by email? Well, my Zelle is my email address. That's my address. So if you want to try it, I appreciate it. So with a job, you don't have to beg for $1. Okay. That's even if I was making $60,000-$70,000 for my time here is still worth something. I should give my time for free. Right. And so I do know that some people are on a budget, but I should do my time for free. Wait. Should anybody do their time for free? I don't get money from running this channel, right? But it does require work. So what do you do for free when you spend your time? What do you do? So stop the bullshit, stop the lie, right? Stop. And you know what? Log off the channel. Don't watch me. I could block you, but I'm not. Right? I just think that, let me just put this up here. Or right now, or you working? I am working. We're not asking, I'm not asking for rent money. I'm asking for donations for my time. So for the 3 hours, you don't think it's worth $5? $5, you don't think it's, so why are you watching the channel? Why are you watching? Why are you wasting your time watching me? Right, you're a fan? Right? You like the way we look? What the hell are you what are you watching us for? And you're not going to support. I'm like, do you like looking at me? These people are something else. So more with that said, I will look for some more chats. Say something about the Bible and I'll send you a cash app. All righty. You get the constellation prize. There you go. Okay, thanks for putting $2 up for sa.neter's channel. Thank you so much. And I'm sure sa.neter will appreciate it. I'm doing work. This is his channel, so I appreciate that. So with that said, anything else you got to say, King J and Morpheus, before we close out?
No, we're gonna close it down, and we'll see y'all for part 2. where we're gonna get a little bit deeper. And I hope y'all enjoyed the information that we gave y'all so far as the intro.
King J, you have anything to say?
King J left.
Oh, King J. What about Ben? Ben left?
Yeah, Ben left too.
All righty. So I do want to thank, which I can see, I do want to thank, Soul sent me a donation.
Everybody, let me say everybody that did donate, thank you very much.
Columbus sent me a donation. Thank you, and Cam. And it didn't cost them a lot, and I appreciate y'all. I respect y'all because it didn't cost you a lot to send me the money. It's not going to break you. Thank you for honoring my time. And the stuff that we do, you find that other people borrow and use our points. But this point is really important. The New Testament, like my brother said, Asiatic. You can find elements of it in a garbage dump. But in Egypt,
he said our salvation depends on the garbage dump.
Our salvation, that was perfect. Kaboom. No, we're saying that if everybody just contribute $1 to $5, then it wouldn't hurt anybody. So whatever you send is fine, but please don't send no more than $10 because I respect your post, right? I just find it difficult that people don't respect our work, right? We're not trying to do a new covenant on you. We're not trying to sell you a $5,000 trip to Egypt. We're not trying to have you pray to something and hope. All we're just trying to do is just give some information to our people. So with that said, I'm going to play my favorite song on sa.neter, and I'll say good night to you, Morph, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Peace.
So it's my favorite song. Okay, there it goes. And we're gonna get back when I but let me see. Here's my favorite song. Nope, remix, final call. Nope. Sa.neter got a lot of Who Wants to God Killer Facts Room. Final call for my brothers.
I need you to help me on this mission. Yeah. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of the prison. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. It's sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, where your logic breaks apart in 1,000 pieces. God killer, not gonna let that slide. You drowning in a myth, you had nowhere to hide. The okay. It's the toughest environment when we trade blind faith for mental empowerment. I believe in scriptures for your mind, this is the key. It's time to unlearn everything you believe. The house of consciousness, start looking within. That's where the real liberation begins. Oh, it's just for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of that prison. This is for my brother trapped in religion. sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. The HOK is more than just a place. It's a tough environment where you check your faith. One spoiled and pseudo killers who check your sources. Don't come in front cause you will live for losses. The Bible written to break your spirit, built to keep you low, feeding you metaphors, stopping your growth. These is for my brothers trapped in religion. sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. Sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, while your logic breaks apart in 1,000 pieces.
I need you to help me on this mission.
Yeah, this is for my brothers trapped in religion. Open up your eyes, break out of the prison. This is for my brothers trapped in religion. sa.neter be the truth, you know he's on a mission. It's sad to see my brothers all so lost. It's sad to see you believe in things that's false. It's sad to see you believe in Jesus, while your logic breaks apart in 1,000 pieces. God killer, not gonna let that slide. You drowning in a myth, you had no way.